to donate blood for me. My brother missed 2 college entrance exams until the 3rd time. On the eve of his exam, I suffered from acute complications due to anemia, experiencing severe tinnitus and vomiting. My parents made the tough decision to send me to my grandmother's house in the countryside. Before leaving me, my mother, with reddened eyes, hugged me and said, "Teacher Zheng said, if you give up on the exam again this time, they won't accept your brother for a retake. When Ji, your brother, is also a person with his own future to pursue." Dad looked utterly exhausted and sighed, saying, "We promise, we'll come pick you up in 3 days, okay?" They were asking me, but they didn't wait for my answer when they left. I watched the car drive away and coughed up bloody foam again. My body grew colder and colder. My brother suddenly sent me a message asking, "Has Xiaoji arrived at Grandma's? Is she feeling unwell?" With my vision rapidly blurring, I clenched my teeth tightly, sent him a message saying, "I'm fine, brother, do your best on the exam, and then come pick me up with Mom and Dad." Mom and Dad are right. Brothers are also human beings, with their own futures to pursue. This time, I won't hold them back. On the eve of my brother's 3rd college entrance exam, my parents made an exception and requested a long leave from the factory a week in advance, and also had me take a leave from school to stay at home. My brother is at school preparing for the college entrance exams. My parents stay at home, on high alert, watching over me without leaving my side. Their faces are filled with utmost tenderness, yet in their eyes, there is an exhaustion that has accumulated over the years, one that is difficult to conceal. I have had severe thalassemia since birth. I need a blood transfusion approximately every 3 weeks, plus, there's the monthly cost of 3,000 for iron removal. All these years, my brother, who shares my blood type, has been endlessly burdened by me. My parents' wallets had long been emptied. Time and time again, my parents stayed by my side for 7 days. It wasn't until the afternoon before the college entrance exam that my mother finally relaxed her expression and sighed with relief, saying, "Your brother is coming home for dinner tonight. The college entrance exam starts tomorrow, and it will be over in 2 days. Xiaoji, when the time comes, Mom, Dad, and your brother will all go together to send you back to school." Dad's face is weathered, his hair graying. All these years, he has been working tirelessly to gather endless medical expenses for me. He often worked long shifts at the factory, from early morning until midnight. A man in his early 40s had aged to look like he was in his 50s or 60s, but at this moment, he also broke into a smile, waving his large hand and saying, "Once Wenxue finishes the college entrance exam, and Xiaoji finishes the final exams, let's follow the example of the wealthy and take a family trip, just the 4 of us. How about we go to Guilin, the place Xiaoji mentioned wanting to visit before?" Mom was concerned about the cost, but after a moment of silence, she still nodded with a smile. "All right, let's go after the kids finish their exams. We'll get a soft sleeper for Xiaoji, and we'll take hard seats." Hard seats. The view by the window is nice. Mother's eyes brim with rising hope. Then, with utmost caution, she lit another stick of incense. She knelt down and prayed softly, yet devoutly, her voice faintly drifting into my ears. "When Sure will turn 21 after the new year, please bless her to pass the college entrance exams smoothly this time. Xiaoji, please, don't let anything else happen." 2. A wind began to blow outside the window. Suddenly, I felt dizzy again and coughed a few times. Dad immediately acted as if facing a great enemy, quickly getting up to close the window, but my hands and feet still began to feel cold. The familiar feeling surged up, and cold sweat started to break out on my palms and back. It felt like mist had filled my breath, with dull pain in my nasal passages and throat. Acute complications caused by anemia. All these years, I know this feeling the best. Dad looked at me with a serious face, about to ask something. The front door slid open, and my brother came back. The house quickly became a flurry of activity. Mom hurried into the kitchen and brought the hot dishes to the table. Dad set out the bowls and chopsticks. Brother dropped his backpack and, as usual, leaned over to me first. His voice was casual, but his concern was genuine. "Little Wenji, how are you feeling today? Did you take your iron chelating medicine properly, or did you slack off again?" The cold sweat beading on my forehead dripped into my eyes. A wave of dizziness hit me violently, accompanied by a ringing in my ears. In the sweltering summer, my body felt as if it were falling into an ice cave. I raised my hand to wipe my face haphazardly, forcing my trembling body to calm down. I'm fine, I've already eaten breakfast. My brother crouched down, scrutinizing me with suspicion. After a while, she reached out to touch my forehead again. It's not hot in the room, why are you sweating so much? My heart felt as if it was stuffed with thick cotton. My brother wiped the sweat from my forehead, his eyes filled with even more worry, and his voice raised a few tones. Why are your hands so cold too, Dad? Mom, when are you going to take Xiaoji for a blood transfusion? This looks like anemia has gotten worse again. As he spoke, he tried to pull me up, go to the hospital, just in time. Brother has been saving blood for half a year, it should be enough to donate. Mother's hand trembled, spilling a bit of the dish. Father's movements also suddenly froze. The lively atmosphere seemed to freeze in an instant. I snapped back to reality and said urgently, I'm fine. Dad just opened the window, and the hot air blew in, making me a bit dizzy. It's much better now. Only then did Mom and Dad almost simultaneously let out a long sigh of relief. Mom said with relief, I just had a blood transfusion a few days ago, so it shouldn't be anemia again. I tried my best to perk up. I got up myself and nudged my brother to go eat at the dining table. Dad served my brother braised pork knuckles, saying the bright red color symbolizes great fortune. Mom served my brother victory cake, saying it signifies success in the imperial examinations. They had never believed in such things before. As the third college entrance exam approached for her brother, she could no longer say the words, let nature take its course. In the midst of severe tinnitus and dizziness, she gradually could no longer see their faces. She clenched her teeth tightly, preventing herself from collapsing. Late at night, while I was washing up, I still lacked the strength and suddenly collapsed to the floor. My head hit the wash basin, and my mind seemed to explode. My parents heard the commotion and rushed over. Dad helped me up, checked my condition, and said with a grave expression, it seems like an acute complication following severe anemia. We might need a blood transfusion. Wake Wenshur quickly, we need to go to the hospital. But my mother suddenly lost control of her emotions. She who used to love me the most, what now rises in her eyes is only intense fear and resentment. Impossible. It's only been a few days since she received a blood transfusion. The doctor said it would last at least half a month. Father's face twisted in anguish. We have to go check first. Call Wenshur in case we need him. Is he just a tool? Mother suddenly glared with bloodshot eyes, screaming hysterically for the first time. 3. Her voice trembled uncontrollably, yet she tried to keep it low, afraid of waking her brother. Is Wenshur just a tool for providing blood? It's been 3 years. When Mingyuan, it's been 3 years. His homeroom teacher, Ms. Zheng, said that if he dares to abandon the exam this time, repeat the year in the second half, don't even think about entering her class again. Dad's face also slowly turned pale. You, calm down, just bringing Wenshur along as a precaution. He doesn't necessarily have to donate blood. Even if he does, he can still take the college entrance exam tomorrow. Mom tightly clenched her hands, and suddenly, tears slid down her face. For 15 years, this was the first time I saw her cry. Her eyes and voice were filled with near despair. It's midnight, and you're waking Sherwin up to draw blood. How could that possibly not affect the exam tomorrow? Why is it always like this every year? She just had a blood transfusion a few days ago. I gave up my perfect attendance record and took a long leave to stay with her for 7 days. She was perfectly fine just a few days ago. Why is it happening again today? Why, just why? Father looks haggard and helpless as he approaches to comfort mother. Don't get too upset, Xiaoji didn't mean it. The child wouldn't want to have this illness either. Mother's body trembled violently. After a long while, her expression turned resolute, as if she had finally made up her mind. Send Xiaoji to your mother's place, the college entrance exam. It's only 2 days. Mingyuan, I want to give Wenshur a chance and fairness. Since Xiaoji was born, it's been 15 years. The one who always makes concessions and sacrifices is Wenshur. I lowered my eyes in disarray. There seems to be blood flowing from my head, sticking to my hair. My eyelids keep drooping, and I can hardly keep them open. Dad's lips are tightly pressed together, and his face is dark and grim under the dim, yellowish light. He appears even older. Mom's suppressed sobs echoed, filled with pain and helplessness. She just had a blood transfusion a few days ago. She can't be anemic. It's probably just a cold or something. Mingyuan, just think of me as selfish. I want to favor Sherwin once, to let him take the exam with peace of mind. The surroundings fell into a deathly, startling silence. A few steps away was the tightly closed door of my brother's bedroom. In preparation for the college entrance exam tomorrow, he went to bed early tonight. He has been waiting for this college entrance exam for 3 years, over 1,000 days and nights, more than 100 mock exams. A thick fog welled up in my eyes. After a long while, I struggled to reach out and tugged at the sleeve of my mother's faded, washed-out shirt. Miss Grandma, I want to go stay at her house for a few days. Mom suddenly looked at me, her lips trembled, and in her lowered gaze, a strong surge of sorrow and guilt welled up again. She crouched down and tightly embraced me, who was still sitting on the ground. I heard her trembling voice, Xiaoji, I'm sorry, it's all my fault. Mom, Dad is driving. Mom sat with me in the back seat, and we went to Grandma's house overnight. The car jolted, and my consciousness grew heavier and heavier. For all the way, Mom held my hand tightly, not letting go for a moment. Her palm was warm. I tried my best to deeply engrave this feeling in my mind. This was my mother's hand, my mother's warmth. When we got off the bus, my mother's eyes were already swollen and red. She choked up and hugged me, saying, Xiaoji, your brother, he is also a person, with his own future to pursue. Mom was in a bad mood and said some hurtful things. Once your brother finishes his exams, Mom will properly apologize to Xiaoji. Dad looked utterly exhausted and sighed, saying, Mom and Dad promise, we'll come pick you up right away in 2 days. Okay, they are asking me. But before I could answer, my mother urged, it's almost dawn, and we still have to send you to the exam. We can't delay, we need to head back right away. When I looked up again, Dad's car was already speeding out of sight. In the early hours of the morning, the wheels kicked up a few yellow-green leaves from the ground. Grandma is old and has a bit of dementia. After watching for a while at the door, she went back to her room on her own. The wind blew into my mouth and nose, and I couldn't help but cough violently again. This time, it felt as if my internal organs were about to be coughed up. I turned around, stumbling, and went back to the bedroom. As soon as I lay down on the bed, I coughed up a mouthful of bloody foam. The last bit of strength in my body seems to have been carried away along with that bit of blood foam. I lay flat on the mattress, staring blankly at the dim, dark ceiling above. Moonlight streamed in, a cold, clear light swaying back and forth on the ceiling. I remember the little windmill that my brother once gave me, swaying in the wind. Brother said, the windmill spins and spins, turning away bad luck and bringing good fortune. My little Ji, always safe and sound. Xiaoji is no longer safe. I hope my brother stays safe and gets good grades. I think and think, closing my eyes. My consciousness fades away. 5. When I woke up again, my body had miraculously floated into the air, but on the bed, there lay another me, her eyes tightly closed. She slept peacefully and quietly. There were frothy blood stains at the corner of her mouth, and bloodstains on the pillow. I looked at her with confusion. Lowering my gaze, I looked at my semi-transparent body with confusion. After a while, it dawned on me, I was already dead. Floating there were the souls of the dead that I had seen in books. In my ears, I heard the sound of my grandmother making a phone call. Nyar is doing fine. She's already had breakfast. She just lies in bed all the time. No matter how you call her, she doesn't respond. It was only then that I noticed a bowl of food placed by my bed. There were only a few grains of rice left, and a few pieces of green vegetable leaves. The wide-open window in the bedroom, there was a cat on the windowsill, gnawing on a piece of meat bone with great relish. On the other end of the phone, my mother sighed in relief. As long as she's eaten, she's never been away from us since she was little. The first time being sent away, it's natural to be a bit willful. Please keep an eye on her. If she says she's not feeling well, just give us a call. Grandma agreed with a sure. After a moment, she seemed to suddenly sense something was amiss. She took the bowl and, because her eyesight was poor, brought it close to her face for a careful look. Then she exclaimed in surprise, "It's this spare rib. How did you even eat the bone?" I didn't see it thrown anywhere, but a chaotic noise came from there, and I couldn't hear what Grandma said anymore. Mom's voice became more blurred and urgent. "All right, Mom, Xiaoji will be in your care these few days. I won't say more. When Sure is ready, and I'll change my shoes to accompany him to the exam venue." The call was disconnected. Grandma got up in a daze, looking at me on the bed, and sighed. This girl, eating and then lying down again, not afraid of feeling bloated. Forget it. I'll come back and check later. My nose was terribly sore. Grandma is getting old now, and her mind and eyes are not as sharp. She doesn't know when she will realize that I have passed away. This village is remote, with houses far apart from each other. She is used to living here, and no matter what, she refuses to move to the city with my parents. I can't help but worry. When she suddenly finds out I'm dead, she'll be too scared to bear it, but I can do nothing. I can only hope that my parents and brother can come over soon, but the thought of their reactions when they see me dead makes me tremble with fear. My mind is in chaos, filled with sorrow. In the blink of an eye, my soul has truly drifted back to my distant home. Mom accompanies my brother out the door, repeatedly reminding him of the things he needs to bring. Dad was driving, waiting outside the gate of the old residential area. The car was a cheap second-hand vehicle. During the toughest times, the cost of my blood transfusions wasn't enough. Dad had thought about selling it to get 5,000 yuan. But Mother insisted on going to her relative's house. She humbly borrowed the last bit of money and refused to sell the car. She said, I'm not in good health and sometimes feel unwell suddenly in the middle of the night. Having a car, after all, brings some peace of mind, allowing for timely trips to the hospital. In taking care of me, my parents and brother never hesitated to spend a single cent. Mom opened the car door and got in, but my brother frowned, his face looking uneasy, as if deep in thought. Suddenly, an unfamiliar bird call echoed from the trees outside the neighborhood. My brother stood there for a long moment without moving, staring blankly in the direction from which the cry had come. Then, suddenly, his eyes reddened at the corners, and he turned to head back home. I'm not at ease. I need to go check on my sister. I knocked on her door this morning, and she didn't answer. She promised to take me to the exam the day before yesterday. 6. My heart suddenly clenched. I realized at that moment that my brother seemed to sense something. From childhood to adulthood, we were always the ones who accompanied each other the most. My parents are always very busy earning money, busy scraping together the medical fees to keep me alive. My brother spends more time with me than they do. He is also often the first to notice when I'm not feeling well. Mom hurriedly got out of the car to stop him. Xiaoji is still sleeping. You go take the exam first. But it seemed like my brother couldn't hear anyone's words. He directly threw down his backpack, rushing back to the apartment building in 3 steps. I fumbled with the keys to open the door. I rushed in and pushed open the door to my bedroom. The bed was still unmade. I was too uncomfortable last night and forgot to fold it when I left. Brother rushed to the bedside, patting the quilt. Didn't we agree to take me to the exam? Wenji, you're slacking off again, not keeping your word. The slightly raised quilt with his gentle patting, it silently sank down. Brother's face suddenly froze. After a long while, he finally snapped back to reality and threw off the blanket. The bed was only empty and deathly silent. He staggered, reaching out to steady himself against the edge of the bed. His eyes filled with disbelief. Turning back, he stared at his mother with eyes wide in fury. Where is Wenji, Mom? Where is Xiaoji? His mother nervously clenched her hands, at a loss for words. After a long while, I could only tell the truth. I took her to your grandmother's house. My brother's face tightened intensely. His uneasy, questioning gaze was fixed firmly on Mom. Why did you suddenly send her to Grandma's house? Why did you lie to me again, saying she was sleeping here? His emotions quickly spiraled out of control. For the first time, his tone carried a hint of accusation when speaking to his mother. I went home last night and felt like she was sick. It even seemed like severe anemia symptoms when needing a blood transfusion. Mom, did you really take her to get a blood transfusion? What exactly did you? Are you hiding something from me? 7. Mom suddenly looked up, her eyes also turning red. When sure, do you realize what you're saying? Xiaoji is my daughter first, and only then your sister. She needs a blood transfusion every 3 weeks. It's a matter of life and death. Do you think your father and I would lie to you about something like this? Could we possibly not take her? She spoke urgently. Because of the sudden surge of emotions, her breathing became heavy and rapid. Over the years, she has worried herself sick over me. She has worried herself sick over my brother's studies and the family's livelihood. The doctor diagnosed it half a year ago. She was mentally unstable due to excessive stress and overexertion. Occasionally, she would lose control of her emotions, experience brief hallucinations, and could not handle any stimulation. Breathing heavily, she trembled as she opened her bag and began rummaging through it. Her voice trembled with anger. "The blood transfusion receipt from the other day is still in my bag. I'll show it to you. You don't believe me, your own mother. Fine, I'll show you the evidence with your own eyes." But her hands were trembling uncontrollably, my hands trembling. I searched for a long time but couldn't find that slip of paper, watching her frantic movements. A sharp pain shot through my mind. Ever since last night, when my parents sent me away, I suddenly felt dizzy from anemia. My mind has been in a state of chaos ever since. I always feel like I've forgotten something very important, yet, even now that I'm already dead, I still can't remember what it is that I've forgotten. My brother finally regained his composure and stepped forward to stop my mother, saying, "Please don't get agitated. I don't mean to doubt you. I know you love Xiaoji the most. It's good that she received a blood transfusion, and it's good that she's just at Grandma's house." His eyes still showed unease. But worried that his mother might get too excited and have an accident, he could only pretend to be calm and soothe her. He left the house again, continuing his journey to the exam venue by car. Halfway there, he was clearly restless still. I took out my phone and sent me a message. "Has Xiaoxi arrived at Grandma's house? Is she feeling unwell?" Over the years, due to my health issues, my parents bought me a phone at a very early age. In case of sudden physical discomfort, I can contact them promptly. I was terrified that my brother might discover something and delay his third college entrance exam. Mom was right. My brother is also a person with his own future to pursue. I urgently rushed to the phone by the bed, picked it up, and replied to his message. "I'm fine, brother. You have to do well on your exams and then come pick me up with Mom and Dad." But my brother stared intently at his phone screen, where he hadn't received any reply from me. When I looked back at the bed, I realized the phone was still quietly lying by the pillow. I only have one soul left, and I can't even pick it up. The so-called reply is nothing more than an illusion I've conjured. My brother's expression once again grows anxious and uneasy. He dials directly and calls me again. The phone by the pillow vibrates and lights up again. The sound is very faint. Grandma can't hear it. I am filled with anxiety, but aside from my soul frantically circling in midair, there is nothing I can do. Brother's hand holding the phone tightened more and more. Once again, he couldn't control himself. His brow furrowed as he looked at his parents. "Why can't I get in touch with Wenji? She's not answering calls or replying to messages. She used to always keep her phone with her." 8. From the moment she got on the bus, Mom had been staring blankly at her bag. It seemed she was still puzzled as to why she couldn't find the blood transfusion slip in her bag. After a long while, she finally looked at my brother very slowly and said, "She probably didn't bring her phone. Your grandmother has a phone, and she can still contact us." It was then that my brother realized something and immediately called our grandmother instead. My heart leapt to my throat once again. The car stopped outside the exam venue. When my brother got out of the car, Grandma told him over the phone. She said I had eaten breakfast, but right after finishing, I crawled back into bed and fell asleep. As she spoke, her tone was filled with the same doting complaints she used when my brother and I were little. "Kids really can sleep, can't they? I'll have to get her up to bask in the sun later, and help her digest a bit." Her brother let out a long sigh of relief in an instant. His tense expression finally relaxed as well. Outside the examination hall, security reminded him, "We need to hurry to the exam venue, and you can't bring your phone." Her brother felt relieved and his tone lightened. "Let Xiaoji sleep a little longer if she wants to. We'll have to get up early every day when we go back to school in a few days." He touched the bracelet on his wrist again. Engraved on it were the words, "Achieve the highest honor." I bought it at a high price with my saved pocket money when I followed my mother to the temple. When my brother received it, he laughed and said I was easily fooled. After putting it on, it was never taken off again. I've always felt guilty for delaying his college entrance exams twice. The first time he took the exam, he had just turned 18. I suddenly fainted from anemia, and the hospital's blood supply was insufficient. My brother rushed over to donate blood for me, causing him to miss an exam. For the second college entrance exam after my repeat year, my parents took me to donate blood in advance. I went out to buy a gift for my brother after his college entrance exam, but it was just so unfortunate. I was hit by a car driven by someone under the influence of alcohol. My brother still got the news and rushed out of the exam hall to wait for me outside the emergency room. I delayed him for 2 years. Guilt also felt like a heavy mountain, weighing on me for 2 years. So, On the eve of this third college entrance exam, I also fervently hope that his exams will go smoothly. My brother looked at the bracelet and earnestly said to the person on the other end of the phone, "Please tell Xiaoji, once I finish my exams, I will go pick her up right away." After saying that, he hung up the phone, handing the phone to my parents. I finally entered the exam hall with composure. I watched his retreating figure. My heart, which had been hanging high in suspense, finally settled down for the moment. 2 days of college entrance exams. After the first day of exams, my brother didn't return home. The school required students to stay in dormitories until the exams were over to prevent distractions. Without his phone, my brother could only focus on reviewing for the exams, anxiously awaiting the end of tomorrow's exam. So I can go pick her up. The next afternoon, Mom prepared to leave early to meet brother at the exam venue. Before leaving, she went through the bag again, but the not-so-large bag had nothing that wasn't already there. "No matter how many times you look, it's the same," her father tried to console her. "Maybe you left it somewhere else. It's just a slip of paper, and the blood has already been transfused. If it's lost, it's lost." Mom, for some reason, seemed quite emotionally distracted. She was in the bedroom again, rummaging through drawers and cabinets, while absent-mindedly replying to Dad, "I remember putting it in my bag. That day, Xiaoji went to get a blood transfusion, and you came to the hospital with us. Why don't you check your coat pocket too?" Dad was about to hand the sedative to Mom. Hearing this, his hand paused. "I didn't go that day. Didn't you take Xiaoji to the hospital alone?" 9. Mother frowned and suddenly looked at him. "How could that be? You were the one who paid for Xiaoji's blood transfusion at the window that day." Dad's expression gradually stiffened. "I went to Wenshi's school that day. I attended a lecture and a parent-teacher meeting, and I was there all day. Don't you remember?" Mom looked at him in disbelief. She tried desperately to find any hint of a joke on Dad's face, but all she saw was the seriousness and certainty in his expression. She suddenly stood up, staggering and nearly falling again. "When Mingyuan, what nonsense are you talking about? Wenshi's parent-teacher conference was last week, and you were the one who went with Xiaoji for her blood transfusion. You paid the fees for her, and you were the one who took her to the transfusion room." She stared intently at her father, gaze shifting downward. It fell upon that bowl of calming medicine still steaming with heat. In her eyes, a look of panic and unease gradually surfaced, then, extreme terror, to the point where her body seemed almost unable to stand steady. That bowl of medicine seemed to be something extremely terrifying. She rushed forward a few steps, reaching out to knock the medicine bowl away. She suddenly screamed hysterically, "This joke isn't funny. The parent-teacher conference was last week, and you went when Xiaoji needed a blood transfusion. Tell me, you went." I rushed forward anxiously, wanting to comfort my mother, to calm her down a bit. "She's sick, and her mental state isn't good. She can't be like this. She can't get too agitated." But my hand passed through her body, unable to touch her. In the blink of an eye, in the midst of my mother's extreme loss of control, in my father's face, which seemed to gradually turn pale as if he had just realized something, suddenly, it dawned on me what I had forgotten. That day, my mother took me to the hospital for a blood transfusion alone, but the hospital's blood bank was low on supplies. The doctor there told my mother that there were still a few days left until my scheduled blood transfusion every 3 weeks. He asked my mother to take me home first. "When the blood bank has enough blood, they will contact us," the doctor specifically instructed. He said that if I experience sudden conditions such as anemia or discomfort, I must go to the hospital immediately. Even if the blood bank has no blood, family members can consider donating blood, or in emergency situations, open a green channel to quickly obtain blood from other locations. But that day, my mother was not in a good mental state and seemed emotionally disoriented. She took me to the hospital and then went home, so I remembered it as if I had already received a blood transfusion the night before last. When I felt unwell, she would have thought so. I would only have something like a cold or other issues. It couldn't be caused by anemia, and because of sudden tinnitus and dizziness, I forgot about it myself. I feel a bit sad as I lower my eyes, and I also feel a sense of regret. If only I hadn't forgotten myself, I could have reminded my mom, my dad, and my brother. In that case, no matter what, they would have taken me to the hospital right away. Perhaps I can still survive. If possible, I would not choose death. Even if I die, my parents and brother can be free. But I am also very clear how much they loved me, how unbearable it was for them to lose me, but now, it's too late to say anything. 10. Dad's eyes gradually turned red, he suddenly grabbed Mom's phone. Trembling hands frantically searched for the payment record from that day and the hospital's notification text message. Every time I finish receiving a blood transfusion, the hospital sends a text message to my mom, but his hands were shaking too violently. The phone had just been unlocked with the password when it fell to the ground with a thud. In the deathly silent bedroom, the sound was particularly jarring. The sunlight outside the window was blindingly intense. Tree shadows swayed on the windowpane, like eerie, menacing ghosts. Dad's legs gave way, and he collapsed to the floor. My hands were trembling. Violently, I picked up my phone again, frantically searching through it, but there were no text messages. That day at the hospital, the only payment record was for a registration fee. The phone suddenly rang, like a thunderclap out of nowhere. The hospital had called. By the time Dad pressed the answer button, his face had already turned pale. On the other end, the doctor's voice came through. "Are you Ng's parent? We have enough stored blood that matches your child's blood type. You can bring her in for the transfusion." The last trace of color drained from Dad's face in an instant. Her hands seemed drained of strength, and the phone slipped from her grasp once again. Mother stared fixedly at the phone lying on the floor, her eyes brimming with intense, overwhelming terror. "No, it can't be. This can't be happening. I took her to get a blood transfusion, just a few days ago." She retreated step by step, as if facing some terrifying beast. The hospital. It must be the hospital that made a mistake. But on the other end of the phone, her voice was heard. The other end replied seriously, "You did indeed bring the child here a few days ago, but due to insufficient blood bank reserves, the child did not receive a transfusion." Like a knife hanging overhead, it finally fell completely. Mom's body, like a tower of blocks pushed over in an instant, suddenly collapsed to the ground. In the bedroom, there was a deathly silence, devoid of any sound until Dad suddenly snapped back to reality. A hand trembling violently dialed Grandma's phone number. "Mom, let Xiaoji answer the phone, right now. If she's still asleep, wake her up, pull her up, let her answer the phone. Mom, hurry, let her answer the phone." His voice was rough and panting, strained, weak and incoherent. It seemed as if he might lose his breath at any moment. The only response he received was Grandma's demented, repetitive voice. "The child is sleeping deeply and can't be woken up. Since the night before last, after they sent me to Grandma's house, every time they called to ask about my condition, Grandma always replied to them with the same words, saying that I was sleeping, but because every mealtime, the food she placed by my bedside was eaten by the cat. The textbooks she took out for me from my backpack were flipped by the wind from the window, so she said on the phone, I ate on time, I did my homework. So my parents thought I was just being lazy at Grandma's house, just sleeping in a bit more, but it doesn't seem to be the case." As if realizing some kind of possibility, one so terrifying it would be impossible to bear, Dad suddenly roared out, his voice seeming to tear apart in an instant, "Let Xiaoji answer the phone. Mom, I said let Xiaoji answer the phone. No matter how deeply she's sleeping, you can wake her up, wake her up, wake her up." 11. Before he could finish speaking, he suddenly broke into a violent cough, just like me that night, as if trying to cough up my very insides. His weary, prematurely aged eyes were now bloodshot, and Mom slumped beside him, as if her soul had been drained away. Only after a long while could she manage to murmur a word, just sleeping, don't scare your mom, we'll go pick up Xiaoji now." On the other end, there was still a dazed and helpless response, sleeping deeply, can't be woken. Mixed with it, there was a faint sound of a cat meowing. Dad struggled to hold onto the tea table, staggering to his feet, grabbed the car keys and stumbled out the door in a hurry. As he went out, he tripped over the stool by the door. A man in his 40s, he suddenly and awkwardly tumbled to the ground. His head hit the doorframe, and blood began to flow, yet he seemed not to feel the pain. Staggering to his feet, he let the blood flow into his eyes. Fixated on what was ahead, he continued to sway and hurry towards the exit. His mother followed him out and got back into the car like a puppet without a soul. Throughout the journey, she mindlessly repeated a single phrase. Just sleeping, just sleeping. Dad's car was driving very fast, but his legs were trembling, and his hands could barely hold the steering wheel. The car's direction swayed several times. The cars behind blared their horns incessantly. He gritted his teeth and gripped the steering wheel tightly. I was frantic, lunging forward to stop him. I wanted to tell him to calm down. Driving like this was extremely dangerous. I screamed in panic, even trying to throw myself in front of the car to block it, but no one could hear my voice, and no one could see me. The soul left after death is nothing more than a wisp of air. In the past, all I had to do was act a little spoiled, can make Dad obediently stop to rest and take medicine when he's feeling unwell. Now, I can only watch helplessly as he puts himself in danger. Mom sits in the back seat of the car, her eyes stare blankly ahead, the depths of her pupils like a lifeless, ancient well. I rushed over to hug her, wanting to hold her hand tightly once more. I can still remember clearly that night when she took me to my grandmother's house. Throughout the long and bumpy journey, she never let go of my hand for a moment. Her hand was so warm, a warmth that belonged uniquely to a mother. Such temperatures I have experienced for 15 years. Severe thalassemia, making breathing consistently more difficult than for others. When urgently needing a blood transfusion, breathing becomes even more labored. Dizziness and tinnitus occur, often feeling pain, yet frequently unable to pinpoint where it hurts. It hurts when receiving a blood transfusion. The iron chelating medication that needs to be taken long-term always comes with side effects, no matter how uncomfortable it feels. When held by my mother's warm hand, when held in my father's broad embrace, when my brother crouches down and gently asks, "Is Xiaoji feeling a little better today?" I always think, no matter how tough life gets, it's still worth it. For me, the love and companionship of family always surpass the best painkillers. But now, that warmth, I can no longer feel. My eyes ache. Fortunately, after death, tears can no longer be shed. I no longer need to hide, afraid that my parents and brother will see my sadness. I was in a long, heart-pounding journey. Finally, I saw Dad's car pull up outside Grandma's house. Dad pushed the car door open and got out. Then his legs gave way, and he knelt down on the ground. A door apart, I am inside. He drove all the way here, so eager. But now that the moment has come, it seems even the strength to take another step is gone. Mom seems to have lost her soul. She got out of the car and did not hesitate for a moment. In a dazed and utterly vacant state, she walked straight inside. Grandma still appeared somewhat demented, hanging my backpack in the yard to dry. She had washed the backpack I brought. Say that in a few days when I return to school, I can start fresh. Seeing her parents coming, she immediately went up to them and said, "It's good that you're here. The girl has been sleeping and won't get up. You should persuade her. First, let's make it clear, no yelling at the child." Her mother seemed not to hear her words. Pushing the door open, she walked towards the bedroom. It wasn't until she stepped into the bedroom door that she finally saw everything on the bed. I lay in bed, covered by the thin quilt that Grandma had tucked in tightly for me. I hadn't even taken off my outer clothes. The dark coat I was wearing was the same one they had given me when they brought me here. It was the height of summer, just after a rain, and the air was hot and humid. The blood foam at the corner of my mouth has long since dried. The bloodstains on the pillow have already begun to mold, and my body, which has been dead for several days, has started to emit a foul odor in the room. Cold, putrid, and endless silence. A wild cat jumps in, as usual, eating the food brought by Grandma by the bed. Then, at the moment when Mom enters, it darts out the window, leaving only an empty bowl behind. That was what Grandma told them. The meals I had finished every meal. Mother's eyes were dull and hollow. Her mental state was clearly deranged. As she approached the bed with a blank expression, she reached out and embraced me, whose body was already cold and stiff. Her voice was numb and eerily strange. "Xiaoji, time to get up. Mom is taking Xiaoji home. Then we'll go pick up your brother. He's finished his exams." I tightly covered my mouth. A sob caught in my throat. In the past, whenever she reached out her hand, would immediately and joyfully rush into her arms. But now, the person on the bed will never move again. My mother tried to lift me up. The body after death is stiff and heavy. Her hands were weak, and she tried several times without success. Dad walked in, saw me being held by Mom, and let out a long sigh of relief. It was as if he had been suffocating for a long time and finally took a breath of oxygen. "So, you really were asleep." But before he could finish his words, his steps drew near the bedside, and suddenly he saw my face clearly. The dried, blackened bloodstains on my face, the moldy bloodstains on the pillow, my arm hangs limply over the edge of the bed, my lips and face pale as ash. Clearly, I am no longer among the living. Beside the empty rice bowl, on the dusty nightstand, the faint imprint of a cat's paw remains. Outside the window, on the tree, suddenly, a sound like a crow's call rang out, so hoarse it was. Heart-stopping, Dad collapsed to the ground, his eyes filled with terror and despair, his lips trembling, but that cry was firmly trapped in his throat. He could no longer make a sound. His entire body trembled violently as his outstretched hands struggled to reach the edge of the bed, yet, he dared not even touch the tip of my finger until my mother glanced at him, bewildered and confused, and said, "What are you doing sitting on the floor? Xiaoji is sleeping too soundly. Come help me carry her into the car to go home." 13. She stood up stiffly and urged again, "Hurry up and carry her." When Sure just finished his exams and immediately thought of coming to pick her up, "We'll take Xiaoji back to surprise him." Dad sat on the floor, still staring at me intently, motionless, until Mom reached out and gave him a push. The force was light, yet it caused Dad's body to slam down heavily. His forehead hit the bedside table, the wound on his head from when he bumped it while leaving the house, just healed. It was now bleeding again from the impact. Crimson flowed into his brows and eyes. The pain jolted him awake, forcing him to face the reality before him. For a long time, a sound like a trapped beast's whimper escaped from his father's throat. He staggered to his feet and stumbled to the bedside. In the voice, only the despair of weeping blood remains. "How could it be? How could it be? Just the other night when I came over, everything was fine." "Xiaoji, look at Dad one more time, please. Open your eyes and look at Dad again. Dad is at fault. It's all Dad's fault. I shouldn't have sent Xiaoji away. Don't scare Dad anymore. Dad really knows he was wrong." I choked up anxiously. "It's not Dad's fault. It's not Dad's fault." That night, they didn't know that I hadn't received a blood transfusion yet. Even I had forgotten, or perhaps it was just fate, unwilling to let me forever burden the whole family. Dad coughed painfully and violently, retching dryly. Then suddenly, he vomited out a large mouthful of blood. My heart felt as if it had been slashed open, the pain piercing through me. Dad suddenly reached out and slapped himself hard across the face. "What do you mean she's fine? She's not fine at all." Even when Sure mentioned that night, Xiaoji looked like she was anemic, asking when she had last received a blood transfusion. "When Mingyuan, you're not human, not human." He raised his hand and viciously tugged at his own hair, and gradually, completely powerless, he let his hands fall. I knew Xiaoyun's mental state was not good. "Why didn't you call the hospital to ask if Xiaoji received a blood transfusion? Why, you killed our daughter, you killed our daughter. It's all your fault, it's all your fault." Blood trickled from the corner of his mouth again, mixed with the tears that kept streaming out of his vacant eyes. Mother reached out, her soul lost and her hand trembling as she carefully tugged at the corner of his clothes. "Mingyuan, what nonsense are you talking about? Xiaoji is just asleep. Stop joking around. Let's take Xiaoji home, okay?" 14, she said, fumbling again. I took out my phone and turned it on, showing the screen to Dad. "We even promised to go to Gilin together. Look, I booked the tickets in advance. Xiaoji gets the soft sleeper. We'll take the hard seats. She's been wanting to go the most." She couldn't wait any longer. As she spoke, she looked out the window, gradually murmuring as if to herself, "The scenery in Gilin is beautiful, and the air is fresh. I hear the oxygen levels are high too." Xiaoji has long suffered from anemia, making it harder for her to breathe than most people. She said she went there. Perhaps she could also experience the feeling of breathing as freely as a normal person. She slowly withdrew her gaze and stared blankly at her father until, after a long time, she finally saw in her father's despairing, empty, hopeless eyes the truth she could not bear to face. Her dull, lifeless eyes finally shed a single tear. Then, she suddenly and fiercely covered her face. "I haven't tasted it yet. My little Ji is 15 years old. I haven't even experienced a single ordinary, carefree breath. I didn't give her a healthy body, yet I brought her into this world. Why couldn't I be the one with that disease? I'm sorry. I don't deserve to be a mother." She let go, then bit down hard on her own hand. Blood dripped from her mouth and hand. I cried and struggled to pull her hand away, but couldn't. I sobbed, unable to speak. there's nothing to be sorry for. Mom gave birth to me, and Dad, Mom, and my brother have always cherished me. Xiaoji's 15 years have been happier than anyone else's. Mom, don't cry, don't cry. For 15 years, it was always my parents and brother who protected me and comforted me. But now, I can't even offer them a single word of consolation. If only I could hug them one more time. How wonderful that would be. My parents wept uncontrollably. Until, the bedroom doorway, there was the sound of something crashing and shattering, suddenly erupting. I looked up and saw my brother, standing at the door, his face deathly pale. 15, my heart clenched sharply, and I could no longer catch my breath. After all, in the end, my brother found out too. Falling to the ground was a crystal apple tree ornament that he had brought last month, when I went to the mall with him. We stood outside the window and watched it for a long time. At that time, he told me, after my college entrance exams are over, I'll sell the old books and buy an apple tree for Xiaoji. He never lied to me in 15 years. He never once lied to me. Now that his exams are over, he sold his books to gather money and brought me a decorative piece, but the decorative piece shattered, and that one Ji, who had been looking forward to receiving it, will never exist again. I stared at it for a long time, not really thinking of buying it for myself. I just kept looking at the pendant hanging on the tree with the word peace written on it. For a long time, I just thought, if I gave it to my brother, could it really bring him peace? Before he came of age, our parents were very busy, and we always relied on each other for support. He drives me to and from school, and makes breakfast and dinner for me. When tired or sick, I can't bear to spend the money my parents gave me to sustain my life. He secretly takes cheap fever reducers and painkillers, hiding it from my parents and me. Several times, this has caused severe stomach damage, landing him in the emergency room. I was crying so hard outside the emergency room that I could barely breathe, terrified my brother might die. Yet the first thing he always said when he came out was, "How much did it cost? Do we still have enough for my sister's next blood transfusion?" Later, when he became an adult, starting at the legal limit, I donate the maximum amount of blood every 6 months. Sometimes it's given directly to me, sometimes, like my parents, I donate to the blood bank in exchange for priority access to blood for myself. He always says, as long as Xiaoji is safe and sound, that's all that matters. But what I fear even more is that my brother might not be safe. My brother has given too much blood. My brother has endured too much hardship. My brother never takes care of himself, not even a little. When I was staring at the shop window back then, I just wondered if the apple tree could truly bring peace. My brother wishes for my peace, but I wish even more for his peace. The 15 years he was burdened by me, the 15 years of his endless sacrifices and concessions. Fortunately, no one will hold him back anymore. My brother looked inside, confused and bewildered. What are you doing? 16. Mom and Dad's back stiffened abruptly. When they turned around again, their eyes were filled with extreme sorrow. My brother's gaze passed over them. Staring blankly at me on the bed, he raised his hand and tried several times. Before he could rub his eyes, he rubbed once, then rubbed again, but I on the bed still lay there. Finally, he took one step, then another, and walked over. It was as if, suddenly, someone had broken a bone in him. Bang! He knelt by the bed. His hoarse, strained voice was almost inaudible. So, no blood transfusion, right? That night when you sent her away, she wasn't just catching a cold, she is already in a lot of pain, isn't she? Dad said painfully, trembling. Your mother is delusional, thinking she received a blood transfusion. That night, we thought it wasn't serious, just wanted not to affect your college entrance exam. Brother slowly, very slowly, turned his head to look at Dad and Mom, who was now motionless. He spoke very softly, his voice sounding as if his soul had been drained. Not affect me, my future, my sister. Why can't I make the choice? Xiaoji is only 15. His hand gripped the edge of the bed, blood seeping from his fingertips. Trembling violently in silence, Dad, Mom, she's only 15 years old. Grandma is not in her right mind. She's all alone here. When she's here, how desperate it was back then. Mother knelt on the ground, her eyes hollow, murmuring in despair, I'm sorry. Father's lips trembled violently, then he violently smashed that rice bowl, grabbed a shard of porcelain, and stabbed it toward his own wrist. It's all Dad's fault. Xiaoji, Dad is coming to be with you. My eyes stung as if they were about to burst. and I rushed forward in terror. Yet utterly powerless, but his hand was stopped by his brother reaching out. His brother's eyes were bloodshot as he looked at him, his mouth opening as if to say something more. In the next moment, his body swayed and he collapsed, unconscious, to the ground. 17. The police arrived and took my body to the mortuary. The ambulance took away Mom, Dad, and my brother. As the crowd dispersed, Grandma still stood dazedly at the doorway, gazing into the distance, only when there were no more figures in sight did she murmur, "The plums in the backyard are almost ripe. In a while, remember to come back again, girl. The plums are sweet. The girl loves to eat them." She thought I had just been taken home by my parents. In a few days, I would always come back again. Both my parents fell ill, and my brother took care of my funeral arrangements alone. People came to pay their respects at home, and then gradually dispersed. On a rainy day in Jiangcheng, all the arrangements for my funeral were finally completed. My brother sorted through my belongings alone. On another afternoon, suddenly, in the pocket of the dark coat I wore when I passed away, I found a paper-cut pinwheel. It was from a day when we were basking in the warm sun together in the backyard. He casually cut it out and gave it to me. The windmill spins and spins, turning away bad luck and bringing good fortune. Little G of my brother, always safe and sound. With the windmill, you can stay safe. I have always remembered that night. I had a bad feeling, so I brought it with me. I thought my brother would never lie to me. Unfortunately, life and death are not something a pinwheel can control. My brother sat by the window, staring blankly at the crumpled pinwheel in his hand. On the 7th day after my death, he finally broke down and wept for the first time. After that, he fell seriously ill, lying in a coma with a high fever that lasted for days. When he woke up again, he had forgotten all about me. The doctor said that human memory has a self-protection mechanism. When faced with unbearable situations that could even endanger life, the memory mechanism activates to choose to forget that event. Therefore, he forgot me. The college entrance exam results were released. Along with the admission outcomes, my brother got into the best university in the country. The consciousness of my soul grew fainter and fainter, until the last day. I accompanied him to his enrollment. Finally, I saw him walk into the university he had always dreamed of. This time, I finally didn't hold him back. I watched him handle the admission procedures, watched him make new friends, then watched him buy daily necessities outside the school. Suddenly, at a roadside stall, he bought a toy windmill. My classmates were surprised. "Why are you buying a child's toy?" My brother stared blankly at the windmill in his hand. After a while, he said vaguely, "Windmills can bring good luck. They can keep her safe." Suddenly, my nose felt incredibly sore. He forgot me, yet subconsciously, he still remembered me. The person beside him asked, "Who is she?" After thinking for a long time, the brother couldn't remember. It started raining again in Jiangcheng. He murmured in a daze, "Yes, who is she?" A teardrop slid from the corner of his eye. It was unclear whether it was rain or tears. The end. My boyfriend has a brothers group chat with 7 male buddies and 1 female buddy. Due to a computer glitch, I saw my boyfriend's chat history, because of a trending cheating scandal. His brothers jokingly suggested in the group that he pretend to cheat to test how much I trust him. At the same time, they sent the most handsome and wealthy brother in the group to seduce me, wanting to see if I'd take the bait at first hook. Watching my boyfriend obsessively indulge in his cheating game, unable to extricate himself, I pretended to fall into his trap. My boyfriend Chen Zhe hasn't been acting right lately. During meals he constantly checks his phone, has many more social engagements I don't know about, and has even started changing his clothing style. To put it in online terms, it seems like my boyfriend has started a new relationship. I'm not the type to bottle things up, so when I saw him going out late at night, changing outfits 3 times, and humming while spraying cologne, I just asked him directly, "Have you found a new girlfriend? If you have, don't hide it from me, we're breaking up." Hearing this, he froze momentarily, a strange flicker of excitement flashing through his eyes before anger took over. "Wang Ruolin, is that really how you see me? You always thought I wasn't ambitious enough, and now that I'm fighting for our future, you're being paranoid. Are you out of your mind?" With that, he slammed the door shut and left. Staring at the door, I couldn't help but furrow my brows tightly. Chen Zhe's behavior resembled that of cheating, yet something felt off. Typically, those suspected of infidelity would first react with bluster and counter-accusations, but when I questioned him, his initial reaction wasn't guilt, it was a hidden excitement and smugness. He probably didn't realize how terrible his acting was. His anger looked fake too. I knew him too well. He deliberately let me discover it, even worried I wouldn't suspect him. But why? We've been together for 3 years, now seniors in college. Currently interning at the same major company, we're at the critical juncture of converting our internships to full-time positions. We both want to stay with this company, so we've been working hard on our respective projects lately. Our relationship is stable too. We're currently sharing an apartment, and he's already discussed with his family about putting down $3 million as a down payment to buy it as our marital home, and I had prepared a surprise for him too, planning to tell him after becoming official, a week ago. Chen Zhe was still smiling and saying his greatest wish was to make breakfast for me for the rest of his life. I truly couldn't understand the reason behind Chen Zhe's sudden change. Was he really cheating, wanting to break up but unwilling to say it himself, or perhaps he's had a brain freeze, copying those online proposal tactics where they pretend to cheat first only to surprise their partner with a marriage proposal? But no matter what, this shouldn't be happening at such a critical moment. I was still puzzling over it. Suddenly, my computer froze momentarily, and a bug caused Chen Zhe's WeChat, which he'd logged into earlier when transferring files before leaving, to pop up on my screen. In an instant, all doubts were explained. The pop-up window from the bug was a WeChat group chat of Chen Zhe's. As I looked, a new message popped up. Ninggu, adultery on demand. Ninggu, why haven't you arrived yet? Got tied up by another woman again. Just over 10 minutes ago. Chen Zhe, who had stormed out, instantly replied to the group message. Coming, Ninggu, picking nose, not eager for an affair. Must be brainless. Chen Zhe replied instantly again. What nonsense are you spouting? I'm in a bad mood right now. Just slammed the door and walked out. Ninggu, how did it go? Did you follow what I told you? What was her reaction? Spill the details to the brothers. Chen Zhe also didn't hold back and shared my reaction in the group chat. After speaking, she sighed. Damn, it's so obvious. Yet she didn't argue with me or stop me. Could it be that she really doesn't love me anymore? Brother Ning, humph. You just haven't experienced enough with women. Once you do, you'll understand that some women just pretend. Deep down, she's probably furious and wants to catch me and beat me to death. I'm making a huge sacrifice here. When she goes crazy, you better stand by my side. At Brother Zhe, don't worry, you're doing this to help me, so I won't let you suffer. Phone, ha ha ha, Sister Ning, don't worry, we brothers are all here to protect you. Ning Gu, fist. I already told you not to call me Gu with that girly tone. If you like calling someone sister, go back and call your own haggard wife. Phone, alright, I was wrong. Protecting Ninggu. Glancing through the group, it was filled with familiar faces, all of them good brothers of Chen Zhe, his 3 university roommates, 4 or 5 childhood friends, and himself made up a total of 9 people. The person in the group called Ninggu is named Wang Ning. She is the only woman in the group, addressing these men as brothers. The female brother, Chen Zhe, referred to as being treated like one of the guys. I've seen her a few times. She always seemed to look down on me for some inexplicable reason, but after Chen Zhe proactively mentioned keeping his distance from other women, I didn't see her again. I flipped back through the messages, almost laughing in anger. Turns out, Chen Zhe deliberately changed into 3 different outfits, sprayed cologne, and even hummed a song in front of me earlier. His angry and embarrassed reaction when I confronted him was all taught by Wang Ning. Just half an hour ago in the group chat, the whole purpose was to make me notice and then go crazy at Chen Zhe. These days, he's been going out late at night, not for work, and because of Wang Ning's secret code, affair on the go. At this point, my mind can only form 2 words, crazy. However, after scrolling through the previous messages, honestly, my brain was completely fried for a solid 10 minutes. Good news. Chen Zhe didn't actually cheat. Bad news. It's even worse than cheating. The whole thing started a week ago, when there was a trending topic online. A girl discovers her boyfriend is cheating, so she seduces all the decent-looking guys around him to get back at him. On the wedding day, the groom finds out that all the groomsmen have slept with the bride, and he's so furious he spits blood on the spot. When Chen Zhe brought this up with me, I just said that the girl was stupid and not worth it. Chen Zhe disagreed, but I didn't think much about it and didn't continue the conversation. With the crucial moment of being officially hired approaching, There was no need to get distracted over such a trivial matter, but I didn't expect that before asking me. Chen Zhe and the others had already discussed it in the group chat. The conclusion they reached was that the whole thing was the girl's fault. If she couldn't satisfy her boyfriend, how could he cheat? Ning, take this as a lesson. When you have a partner in the future, you should learn from this. Get lost. I would never be so despicable. Don't lump me together with those women. The person who could betray my dad hasn't been born yet. TSK, maybe it wasn't even about revenge. Maybe it's just her nature to be promiscuous. Maybe she was cheating long before this, right? Probably not very clean when dating, and now there's an excuse to let their true nature out. This girl has a great figure. No wonder she can attract so many. Even I wouldn't be able to resist. TSK, these people, at the very least, look decent. On the surface, if not true social elites, the vile and vulgar comments in this group have truly made me see them in a new light. Among them, Chen Zhe was included as well. Moreover, after chatting with me, Chen Zhe immediately shared what I said in the group chat. The guy nicknamed Ning immediately chimed in. Bro, I'm just saying, your girlfriend's acting a bit too pretentious, isn't she? Hard to imagine what kind of life you've been living these past few years. Even dad feels sorry for you. Ning Gu was very popular in the group, and as soon as she finished speaking, others chimed in. Before long, the target of the group's criticism inexplicably shifted from the girl on the hot search to me. Chen Zhe did not stop them. Finally, with a single line from Ning Gu, I'm a woman too, I understand. She quickly summarized from the details of my relationship with Chen Zhe that I was arrogant, hypocritical, pretentious, vain, and petty, among other conclusions, and Chen Zhe did not refute a single word. Instead, he wholeheartedly agreed. He went along with the crowd, listing all his grievances about me in the context of our relationship, even the time when we had just started dating, and he took the initiative to keep his distance from Wang Ning was now presented as evidence of my jealousy and pettiness, and the fact that he pursued me for half a year, holding me and saying he was fortunate for 3 lifetimes, became proof that I was deliberately leading him on, secretly comparing him to others. And being a calculating opportunist. By the end, even Chen Zhe himself believed it without a doubt. They all agreed that I should be given a profound lesson, and it would also serve as a test to see if I was worthy of Chen Zhe's devotion and sacrifices. And the test content was this: Chen Zhe pretended to have an affair with Wang Ning, and then sent the handsomest and richest guy from the group to seduce me, to see if I would be as naturally promiscuous as the girl on the trending search. If I discovered Chen Zhe's infidelity and didn't take the bait, but instead went to catch them in the act, then they would present evidence of Chen Zhe and Wang Ning's innocence, slapping my face hard, accusing me of overthinking, being jealous and petty, acting like a small-minded woman who couldn't hold her own in public. If I took the bait and, like the girl in the trending news, decided to cheat in retaliation, then I, such a shameless and immoral woman, wouldn't be worth Chen Zhe's affection. They would turn me into a PowerPoint presentation and post it online, making me socially dead. After scrolling through the chat history, I trembled all over, and my stomach churned. I couldn't cry, nor could I laugh. 3 years of sincerity were thrown to the dogs. For a moment, I understood the girl from the trending search. How could she not know the principle of hurting the enemy by 1,000 while harming herself by 800? But she really couldn't accept it. Neither can I. I want to get revenge on Chen Zhe. However, my thoughts haven't changed. Using infidelity to retaliate against infidelity is really meaningless. I am precious, and I can even choose to degrade myself willingly, as long as it's my decision, but I would never sink to the level of a trash just to destroy it. Moreover, to truly get revenge on someone, you have to strike where it hurts the most. The company where Chen Zhe and I are interning is the largest in the industry. If we can successfully secure full-time positions, our future will be bright. When we first arrived as interns, the manager handed us a discarded large project. As long as we can negotiate it through, not only will we be confirmed, but even bringing our families along won't be an issue. Chen Zhe and I were the only 2 ambitious interns, and we both had our sights set on this project. Because being confirmed was far from our ultimate goal, we both wanted to climb higher. We agreed to share information in the early stages and compete fairly. In the later stages, whoever progresses faster will assist the other in completing the contract. This way, the project will be a joint effort, allowing both of us to be officially hired and gain the company's trust. However, after checking the group chat, I realized, since a week ago, this test game began, Chen Zhe used the excuse of rushing a project to secretly carry on an affair with Wang Ning, and he never actually made any progress on the project. It was as if he had suddenly forgotten his dreams and all his aspirations for the future. He became increasingly obsessed with this quiz game. Even when exchanging information with me, he was absent-minded. Wang Ning was even more concerned about the progress of my project than he was. Unfortunately, he actually told Wang Ning that I had made no progress. He didn't even notice that his project progress had fallen far behind mine this past week. No wonder. I told him yesterday that I might have found a breakthrough, and I asked him to get ready to be carried by me. He didn't take it to heart. I originally thought maybe I hurt his pride, which was why he didn't say anything. Turns out he didn't even listen. Suddenly, a brilliant plan emerged in my mind. Just as I was about to shut down my computer, the group chat, which had been silent for a while, refreshed with new messages. It was a group photo. In the photo, the man and woman leaned their heads together in a flirtatious manner. Chen Zihui was wearing the same clothes he had on when he stormed out earlier. Wang Ning, who always looked down on girly attire whenever we met, was dressed in a low-cut yellow gown with a one-shoulder design. As soon as the photo came out, the group chat exploded. Is this our Ninga? Wow, I didn't expect that. Quite impressive. Ninga, get lost. Ninga at Zai Xiaodi, remember the great sacrifice of your father. It's quite big. Drooling. Apparently, the two have already met, but since the others are not present, they are still chatting in the group. The photo was sent by Wang Ning. Xiao brother. Oh, brother. Ning looks quite feminine when dressed up. Since you're sacrificing your charm, why doesn't Zai just take brother Ning in? Brother Ning, don't insult me. I'm not that cheap. I wouldn't go for someone who's already married. The atmosphere grew lively. Chen Zhe chimed in with a remark as well. At brother Ning, if my family background isn't up to par, you'll have to take responsibility for me. If my family background isn't up to par, you'll have to take responsibility for me, this time. Wang Ning didn't say, scram. Instead, she acted out of character and sent a shy emoticon, which she quickly withdrew. The group chat began to stir with excitement. Chen Zhe was enjoying himself. After a while of commotion, they finally got down to business, and their business was how to lure me into suspecting Chen Zhe of cheating, step by step, leading to me catching him in the act, and then arranging for someone to seduce me into cheating as well. And the exciting part for them, how can I get myself trending for being scolded after cheating? The person they plan to arrange to seduce me is named Du Yue. Watching Chen Zhe excitedly discuss my preferences, even some secret ones, with Du Yue in the group chat, I strangely calmed down. They had long forgotten the original intention of this infidelity test, which was to see if I would be tempted to cheat in retaliation. At this moment, they were practically eager to personally escort me to commit infidelity, and then punish me severely in the name of justice. As for Du Yue, I actually haven't met him many times, but I remember he was very handsome. At gatherings, he liked to sit quietly in a corner wearing all black, not saying much. The few impressions I have of him are that he casually helped me pass things a couple of times. This was quite different from the temper of the eldest young master that Chen Zhe described. It wasn't until one time when I turned around and suddenly met a pair of bold eyes staring at me, the desire in them unconcealed. It seems he's a bit surprised by my perceptiveness. He seemed to have figured something out and gave me a secretive smile. To be fair, this man's face and figure, along with his slightly mysterious aura, handsome and sexy. But after that incident, I rarely attended gatherings where he was present, because I could tell that Chen Zhe admired this brother of his. And it wouldn't be right for me to say without any evidence that I suspect your brother has feelings for me. Moreover, sensing my avoidance, Du Yue also began to avoid me, so after that, I stopped paying attention to it, and this time, through the group chat, I discovered Du Yue, apart from having a better family background and appearance than Chen Zhe and the others, even in terms of morality, he was a bit better than them. At least, when everyone was criticizing the girl from the trending search or me, he didn't join in. When Chen Zhe went to great lengths to package him as a tailor-made escort for me, he obediently tied the bow tie without resistance. Even when Chen Zhe repeatedly reminded him to shave his armpits, he even responded, shaved it. I even shaved my armpit hair. The group members all exclaimed, that's amazing. Seeing this, in my numbness, I couldn't help but raise my thumb in admiration. Du Yue even confirmed repeatedly with great integrity, Wei Gu, are you really willing to do this? If she takes the bait, I can't guarantee what will happen. This time, Chen Zhe remained silent for several minutes before speaking. I'm not that pitiful. If she's ready to betray me, then there's really nothing worth holding on to, right, Wei Gu? All right, as you say. As I flipped through, I suddenly noticed that Chen Zhe no longer used if in his speech. Indeed, a person's bottom line only gets lower and lower each time, without even realizing it. He had already silently condemned me to death. What's even more intriguing is this: suddenly, I received a message from Du Yue on my phone. How are you and A's doing recently? I know I shouldn't meddle since I'm A's good friend, but he's been, well, just be careful. I didn't reply. 2 minutes later, he sent another message. I don't mean anything else. I'm just really envious of him. With a girlfriend as good as you, he doesn't even know how to cherish her. If it were me, I wouldn't bear to let go. This last sentence was retracted within half a minute. I didn't reply to Du Yue. I couldn't help but smile when the phone screen finally dimmed, because while Du Yue was sending me messages trying to act like a green tea girl, the group chat was unanimously praising my intelligence. Worried about being exposed, they were carefully discussing Du Yue's first step in getting close to me. The results haven't come out yet. Chen Zhe told Du Yue not to act rashly. I laughed. Now, it's my turn to start the game. I turned off the computer, not wasting any more time looking at their detailed plan. After all, games are only interesting with unknown territories. Moreover, games are just for leisure and entertainment. My project is the real deal. That very night, at the same time my project progress receives a big surprise. Following that, my game also gave me a big surprise. It was a photo of Chen Zhe with his eyes closed, lying on a woman's chest, partially exposed. The woman's off-the-shoulder top had slipped down due to the pull, revealing most of her chest, at least from the angle of the photo. Chen Zhe's lips were almost touching it. It seemed that the excitement wasn't enough, as there was a sentence following the photo. Look, Brother Zhe is acting like a spoiled little puppy. The message was retracted at the perfect moment, turning into a deliberately ambiguous one. Sorry, sister-in-law, I sent that to the wrong person just now. You didn't see it, right? Cold. It so happens that I can see the messages that are recalled on my phone. It was Chen Zhe who taught me how to do it, but the project I've been working so hard on has made significant progress. I'm in a great mood, so I decided to have some fun with this game. Actually, I saw it before I retracted it, but I deliberately replied to Wang Ning that I hadn't seen it. Not unexpected at all. The other side fell into silence. I have a strong sense of curiosity, and it seems Chen Zhe didn't expect that I wouldn't even take a look at this. So another 10 minutes passed. I received 6 messages one after another. Zhao Haifeng, sister-in-law, Brother Zhe got drunk with a client today, afraid of bothering you with the smell. He's at my place. Don't worry. Wu Mingjun, sister-in-law, Brother Zhe drank too much and is here with me. Don't worry if you can't reach him. Xiao Xiao, sister-in-law, Brother Zhe is here with me. Just letting you know, out of the 9 people in the group, the other 6, apart from Wang Ning, Chen Zhe, and Du Yue, all separately messaged me to tell me that Chen Zhe was at their place. It's as if the truth is shining like the Big Dipper. It seems they couldn't wait any longer and ultimately chose the speedrun mode, but it doesn't matter. I'll step in. They've been playing this game for a week. I've just started. I haven't had enough fun yet, so I took screenshots of the chat logs of all 6 of them and sent them to Chen Zhe. Are you playing truth or dare? Snickering, there was no response from the other end, not just because it was unexpected, but also because Chen Zhe was now drunk and unable to respond to me. But without guessing, I knew that a group of people on the other end of the phone were probably racking their brains. I waited a little longer, estimating that they probably had a backup plan. I decided to strike first. I took a photo of the completed documents and half-packed luggage, and sent a message to Chen Zhe. You've been busy for a week, and I don't want to disturb you. Take some time to relax. About that breakthrough point for the project I mentioned yesterday. Although the chances are slim, I still want to give it a try. I'll be leaving tonight for the neighboring city and might not be back for a week. Don't worry if you can't find me when you return. Don't worry, I won't blindly suspect you of cheating. Patting your head. As soon as I sent it, the nickname on the other end excitedly jumped to typing, but soon realized and went as quiet as a mouse. That's all you've got? I let out a scornful laugh, put away my phone and actually start packing my luggage. The business trip is real, just not originally this urgent. Could have waited a few days, but to accompany Chenze and the others in their game, I have to leave early. That's all. I left by plane overnight. When I arrived at the airport, I turned on the surveillance I had set up at home in advance. Chenze was unaware of the surveillance. This was because the surveillance was installed on the cat feeder I had purchased. The cat hasn't been brought home yet, so the brand new feeding machine sits on the dining table, and the high-definition camera is running. Chenze is completely unaware. When I opened the surveillance, he must have also entered the house. He first pretends to call out to me. After confirming that I was gone and my suitcase was missing, he sat on the sofa with a grim expression, brooding for a while before pulling out his phone and uttering a sentence. She really left. 5 minutes later, the doorbell rang. Opening the door, he found Wang Ning standing there. Chenze was a bit surprised. "Why are you here?" But the next second, Wang Ning pounced on him, hooking her arms around his neck and, intentionally or not, pressing his head against her chest. "I heard your girlfriend's not around, so Big Brother's here to practice some secret lovemaking with you." Chenze instinctively reached out to catch her, then suddenly realized what he was doing and pulled her arm away. "A young lady like you, with no filter in your words, be careful, no one wants you in the future." As he said this, he awkwardly shifted his gaze away. Wang Ning paused, then let out a disdainful cold laugh. "What? Are you really going to stay faithful to Wang Ruolin? I didn't even bother with your past infatuations and neglect of friends. Do you really think Wang Ruolin hasn't suspected you of cheating? Let me be honest with you, she probably just doesn't dare to confront you." Hearing this, Chenze momentarily forgot to push Wang Ning away. His eyes filled with confusion. "How is that possible?" Wang Ning let out a cold laugh, walking inside as she spoke. Runin, don't you understand? She's been so secretive about her family because her real name is actually Wang Runin." "What's wrong with Runin?" Chenze asked, puzzled, as he led Wang Ning inside. After entering, Wang Ning first looked around boldly, then sat down with a grand gesture, revealing an expanse of white thigh. When Chenze turned around to pour water, she pulled up her skirt a bit, adjusted her leg position, and put on a nonchalant expression before Chenze turned back. "You don't get it, do you? In those backward, impoverished villages, there's a strong preference for boys. If a girl is born, they'll name her things like Shouty, Pundi, or Runin. These girls are born to be bloodsuckers for their brothers, who are meant to carry on the family name, and these girls have been brainwashed by their families. Once they get married, they'll start sucking blood from their husbands' families to support their brothers." How could she possibly dare to tell you about her family situation? Chenze subconsciously frowned. "She's not that kind of person. Besides, she doesn't know about me." Wang Ning rolled her eyes, stood up, and once again casually hooked her arm around Chenze's neck, elbowing him in the chest. "Do you really think your background can be kept a secret? The likes of Feng Gu and Jun Gu, those snobs, respect you the most, aside from obediently calling you a Gij. Do you really think any family can just casually come up with a 3 million down payment? Do you know why she's been so hesitant to pick a fight with you lately? You're the best option Wang Runin can hope for, so even if you cheat on her, she wouldn't dare to break up with you. She's still calculating how to bleed you dry after marriage to support her brother." Wang Ning's words darkened Chenze's expression. Her eyes showed satisfaction, yet she sighed. "You know I don't like talking behind people's backs, but you're my dearest brother. I wouldn't let anyone bully you, which is why I'm telling you this. Think about it carefully." After hearing this, Chenze's expression softened considerably. Then, my phone rang. The caller was none other than my father, Old Blue, the so-called rural husband, accused of favoring boys over girls in the surveillance footage. As soon as the call connected, Old Blue let out his traditional roar. "Lan Ruawang, break up with that worthless boyfriend of yours. You didn't even dare tell him the house was yours. I spent 12 million buying that house for you, and you sold it to him for just 3 million down payment. Feel your forehead and see if there's a hole in it. If you can't even be honest with someone, do you really think you can marry them?" Caught off guard by the unspoken truth, I was left speechless. "Your mother even helped you hide it from me, so the whole family is ganging up on me, huh?" Seeing old Lon on the other end of the phone on the verge of tears, I finally couldn't hold back and spoke up. Break up soon. The sobbing on the other end suddenly choked off. After more than 10 seconds, they spoke. Hesitantly, half believing, really, Old Blue, have eaten more salt than you, Little Blue, have eaten rice. You wouldn't dare deceive me, would you? Me, that's because you have a heavy taste. After saying that, I hung up the phone with a loud click. Alright, I had to admit, sometimes parents really do have sharper eyes. My parents never approved of Chen Zhe from the moment I started dating, whether it was his constant care and attentiveness towards me, or his ambitious pursuit of his career. My parents didn't like him, they didn't object to me dating, but they forbade me from mentioning my family or bringing him home to meet them. I knew they were trying to outlast me. After all, I was still young. Maybe if I held out long enough, I would break up with him, and I stubbornly believed that Chen Zhe and I could endure until the day they accepted us. But the slap in the face came too quickly, like a tornado. I have no face to face old Lon. In order not to be ridiculed by him in the future, I must quietly secure this project this time and surprise him. For the next week, I almost entirely focused my energy on the project. The reason the project was scrapped was that one material couldn't be secured, because the patent for this material is held by the chairman of Jinha Group, the sworn enemy of our company's chairman. The reason for the feud is quite simple. During a business meeting, our company's chairman misspoke and referred to them as Alloy Group. Both old men are equally stubborn. The Jinha Group chairman has declared that even if the patent rots in his hands, he won't let his rival use it. But I found a breakthrough. The material patent is actually not in the hands of the Jinha chairman, but in his son's possession. His son is a researcher. Old Jin is beyond persuasion. My target for this trip is the enigmatic second son of the Jin family. He's too difficult to approach. Spending almost 24 hours a day in the laboratory, in order to see him, I've been practically camping outside their lab. As a result, my communication with Chen Zhe has been perfunctory. I didn't pay much attention to the surveillance either. Fortunately, I managed to win over this second young master of Jinha. He was swayed by the pie in the sky. I painted and signed the contract with me on the spot. Laughable, truly worthy of being a researcher. He doesn't need money, nor is he lacking it, nor does he crave fame, as he doesn't care for it. Yet, his eyes lit up when I mentioned that I would maximize the potential of this material to benefit humanity. He truly is a pure scientist, unlike us foul merchants. The dust settles. I let out a huge sigh of relief. Only then did I remember to check the surveillance footage. Who would have thought I nearly went blind just by looking? Damn, his great uncle, Chen Zhe, and Wang Ning were actually at my house, going at it for real on the sofa I bought. Oh my god. I almost vomited right on the street. Originally, I only planned to redecorate after breaking up. Now, I'm thinking about moving to a new place, but I still forced myself to keep watching. Despite the disgust, just as I was about to undress, Chen Zhe suddenly came to his senses at the last moment. He pushed Wang Ning away forcefully. Wang Ning was stunned, and her eyes immediately turned red. Chen Zhe guiltily looked away. I'm sorry, but I can't really cheat. That's my bottom line, and we can't continue like this. And, you know, I've always seen you as a brother. As soon as the words left his mouth, Wang Ning looked at Chen Zhe in disbelief. Chen Zhe didn't dare to look at her. She was completely naked, covering her chest with her hands, her mouth swollen and red, choking for a moment before finally shouting, Chen Zhe, you bastard, I've already taken off my pants, and you're telling me we're just brothers. Ha ha ha. The scene of dogs biting each other in the surveillance footage made me burst out laughing at the airport. A buddy is still a buddy even with his pants down. One, all stripped bare, and still thinking they have principles. Because I had to board the plane, I missed the dogfight that ensued afterward. However, I have a premonition. They've been holding back for a week, probably planning to serve up the main course directly, and I couldn't take it anymore. How dare they mess around in my house? So the first thing I did when I got back was to add fuel to the fire. The house had been trashed by them, and I didn't want to live there. So I told Chen Zhe that this project was going smoothly, and barring any unforeseen circumstances, I could sign it. However, I needed to stay at the hotel to guard it, in case the other party's person in charge arrived early and the project was snatched away by someone else. My words were like a bucket of cold water for Chen Zhe, who had just started to realize he shouldn't get too carried away with the test game. He was stunned for a full half minute. Only then did he manage a forced smile. Is that so? Then I guess I'll just have to prepare myself to be a pampered husband who rides on someone else's coattails, won't I? Damn it, all the mushy sweetness of love will eventually become black history. I suppressed my disgust and proudly raised my chin. Yes, seeing that I wasn't joking, Chenze's expression changed repeatedly, but in the end, he couldn't help but ask me anxiously, how did you manage it so quickly? Weren't they saying it was impossible to negotiate? Knowing he was anxious, I smiled mysteriously, teasing him by holding back the details. I have my own clever plan. Chenze's brow twitched. He grew so impatient that he forgot to manage his expressions, yet still took a deep breath, extending his finger to gently stroke the tip of my nose. So mysterious, even your dear boyfriend can't know. I'm heartbroken. I can't keep this act up anymore. Forget it, I'll confess. Stop making me sick, and if I keep acting, I'll start doubting myself. Was Chenze ever this stupid before? Has he finally dropped his facade, or have I always had rose-colored glasses when it came to love? The more I think about it, the more terrifying it becomes. I quickly told Chenze that I hadn't signed the contract yet, and the signing was scheduled for a few days later. Before signing the contract, I had to stay at the hotel to prepare the materials. Fortunately, Chenze achieved his goal and was overjoyed, so he didn't notice my abnormality. He only gave me a few perfunctory words of concern, and even when I refused his offer to send me to the hotel, he forgot to pretend and showed a relieved expression. The more unworthy my ex-boyfriend was, the more embarrassed I felt. I almost fled in panic. Next, I lay in the hotel, taking my time to finalize the follow-up plans for the project. Out of a sense of conscience, I sent the preliminary scale of the pie to that simple-minded researcher for his review. He sent back a thumbs up and expressed that if I needed anything related to materials, I could contact him anytime, and so it was. The time pleasantly arrived. The night before I was to sign the contract with Chenze, as we had agreed, at 10 o'clock in the evening, I received a series of photos sent via anonymous MMS. In the photo, Chenze and Wang Ning appeared to be walking hand in hand toward a hotel. The last photo showed them entering a room. The message included a hotel address and room number. No need to guess who sent it, but I pretended not to know. I asked him, "Who are you?" "I have a great relationship with my boyfriend. He wouldn't betray me." "Don't think I don't know. Your photo is fake." Silence stretched for 10 minutes across the line. Finally, my WeChat chimed. "Du Yue, it's me, Du Yue. I don't mean anything else. I just don't want to see you get deceived." Then, Du Yue sent me a video of Chenze and Wang Ning passionately kissing under the colorful lights of a bar. In the video, it was clear that they were so deeply lost in their kiss that it was hard to separate, even leaving a trail as they pulled away. This was clearly not part of their original plan. After all, in their plan, if I hadn't taken the bait, Chenze and Wang Ning were supposed to publicly humiliate me while maintaining their innocence. The previous photos, along with the ones of us holding hands entering the hotel today, were deliberately shot in a way that could be misinterpreted, easily explained away by angle issues. But this video of a passionate kiss, that won't do. It seems Du Yue is indeed going to be a traitor. I saved the video, then I calmly took a taxi to that hotel. When I found that room, the door was not closed. Erotic splashing sounds came from inside. I stood at the door, pretending to hesitate over whether to push it open. In reality, I was silently counting down in my mind, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I was gently blindfolded by a pair of hands. "Don't look, it'll make you sick." I turned around. The expression was no surprise. I pulled the man's hand away and looked into his eyes. "I'm going out for a drink. Are you coming?" My voice wasn't loud, and as I spoke, I was careful to listen for any movement behind the door. Almost as soon as I finished speaking, I heard something fall to the ground inside, but naturally, I wouldn't have noticed it in my state of sorrow. He wouldn't have noticed the flicker in Du Yue's eyes. I lowered my head and heard a sound. "All right," he said, "I'll take you to a great place." Du Yue took me to a bar with excellent privacy. It wasn't crowded, and the decor was very stylish. During our time there, his phone rang several times, but he hung up each time. Ignore and don't answer, pretending to be oblivious to the world, fully devoted to the moment. I lowered my head, pretending not to notice, and took a sip of wine. The wine tasted very light. He had it replaced with low-alcohol wine. He himself drank quite a bit. When we left, the bar owner, who had been conversing with him so skillfully, suddenly acted as if they were strangers, claiming not to know where he lived, suggesting I put him up in a hotel. I had no choice but to take him to the hotel where I was staying and arrange for him to stay next door. Then, I returned to my own room. There was a message on my phone, received an hour earlier. Big fish, hooked. I turned off my phone and looked at the hotel room door. The big fish is hooked, so what about the little fish? 10 minutes later, the doorbell rang. Ding dong. I smiled. He's hooked too. I nonchalantly dropped 2 drops of eye drops, then pulled open the door. Outside the door, the man's handsome, fair face was flushed with a faint blush. His eyes hazy, he was drenched, his wet hair clinging to his forehead, and his wet, translucent white shirt clung to his well-defined abs. His gaze no longer lingered with reckless abandon, allowing desire to fester. Instead, it was like that of a pitiful, drenched puppy, pleading for affection. He lowered his head, seemingly embarrassed, but still mustered the courage to ask me, "Do you want to get revenge? If you want, I can be your tool for revenge." Seeing that I didn't speak, he lowered his head, his wet eyelashes drooping, hesitated for a moment, then pulled my hand and placed it on his chest muscle. His head lowered even further, revealing the embarrassed tips of his ears beneath his black hair. Like a bewildered teenager, said tremulously, "Don't worry, I'm very clean. I won't let you lose out. I can act too. You can do whatever you want." I pulled my hand back. I didn't speak. I stared straight at the man in front of me, pretending to be vulnerable, until he could barely hold it together any longer. I calmly said, "Is that so? Unfortunately, you're too late. A week ago, I already knew Chen Zhe was cheating." Due froze, unable to pretend any longer. His dark eyes widened in shock, the accusation in them clear as day. The rest of what I had to say didn't need to be fabricated, because his eyes gradually reddened. He helped me complete the rest, but I didn't expect that after a few seconds of silence, he would ask me in a hoarse voice, "What if I said I don't mind?" Being the second one, I was stunned, but I hid it well. I raised an eyebrow and smiled. "Keep your voice down. He's in my room. I'm not playing around with infidelity. Once I break up with Chen Zhe, I'll officially be with him." After saying that, I watched with satisfaction as something in Du Yue's eyes shattered. Regret and resentment mingled within me. I took a step back, and before closing the door, I couldn't help but glance at his chest muscles. "And yours isn't as big as his." As expected, I slept like a log that night, until the hotel room door was pounded on frantically. I opened my eyes, stretched, and looked at the sunlight streaming through the window. A glimmer of tears flashed in my eyes. "Chen Zhe, you truly have great ambitions." The person banging on the door was naturally Chen Zhe. I didn't open the door. Instead, I called the hotel manager and informed him that someone was harassing me. When the manager arrived with security, I received a call from my best friend, Ruolin, that scumbag Chen Zhe is doing a live stream to expose your affair. If you really did cheat, don't open the door. But if you didn't cheat, you absolutely can't let the security guard kick him out. He already said in the live stream beforehand that if you're guilty, you probably won't dare open the door and will have the security guard throw him out. If that happens, you won't be able to explain yourself. I read the message. So, it was true after all. When others cheat, they willingly degrade themselves. When a best friend cheats, it must not be discovered. I'm devastated. Even my best friend would rather tell me not to get caught than believe in my integrity. I opened the live stream my best friend mentioned and took a look. The security guards still haven't come up. Chen Zhe was in the live stream, wiping away tears and snot as he recounted his experiences chasing me. Less than an hour into the broadcast, the live stream viewers had already dubbed Chen Zhe the ultimate pure love war god of the year. Many people were also showering gifts, not for any other reason, but simply out of sympathy for their buddy. And I, before even making an appearance, was already being hunted down by everyone. I took a deep breath but still didn't open the door. It wasn't until the security guard arrived that I finally opened the door, asking the hotel manager and the security guard to stay and vouch for my innocence. Before the security guard arrived, the live stream was busy giving advice to Chen Zhe. He threatened the hotel manager with moral blackmail, forcing them to open the door to catch the adulterers, or else he would send the adultery hotel trending on social media. However, halfway through their enthusiastic plan, to my surprise, I opened the door decisively. Chen Zhe was also stunned. But this is just the beginning. I threw the photos I had prepared in advance, the screenshots of embraces and kisses, and the bed photos captured by surveillance cameras, all over Chen Zhe's face since he had turned on the live stream. I deliberately picked out the most shocking photos. After all, it wouldn't be good if the live stream got banned. Chen Zhe didn't know what it was and instinctively moved the camera. In an instant, those photos were exposed in the live stream. He tried to move away, but it was too late. I sneered coldly. Chen Zhe, who exactly is the one having an affair? Do you think I moved to the hotel for no reason? The sofa at home has been defiled by you too. It's disgusting. Upon seeing the photos at home, Chen Zhe's face turned pale in an instant. After realizing I knew everything, he was momentarily blank. Only then did he react and turn off the live stream, but the more panicked he became, the more things went wrong. His phone fell to the ground, and when he picked it up, he noticed the atmosphere in the live stream had changed. Everyone was cursing him. He took a deep breath and almost instantly made a decision. He picked up his phone and aimed it at his own face. I sighed helplessly. Rulin, you knew I was coming to catch you in the act, didn't you? These photos were all prepared in advance by you, just to turn the tables on me, right? As he spoke, he picked up a photo from the ground showing him holding hands with Wang Ning. You even spied on us, and even calculated the angles for the secret shots. In reality, we never held hands at all. Look closely. He casually displayed the photo in the live stream. He brought out the words they had already agreed upon in the group chat, even including some tactics for guiding netizens, as well as seizing the initiative to firmly pin the label of infidelity on me. Chen Zhe used them without hesitation. He selected the photos he had prepared long ago and explained them in the live stream. Then he played the recording of the conversation I had with Du Yue at the hotel entrance. Is that so? Unfortunately, you're too late. I cheated a week ago. After listening to the edited recording, I laughed. What a coincidence. I happen to have the original version here. I took out my phone and played the recording. Is that so? Unfortunately, you're too late. A week ago, I already knew Chen Zhe was cheating. Chen Zhe's expression stiffened, then, his gaze darkened. After all, we were together for 3 years. I don't want things to get too ugly. But as he spoke, he unhesitatingly clicked on the next recording. Quiet, he's in my room. I'm not playing around with infidelity. Once I break up with Chen Zhe, I'll officially be with him, and you're not as big as him. How are you going to explain this? Who's in your room? Thinking he had caught me red-handed, Chen Zhe's eyes gleamed with a manic mix of triumph and excitement. In an instant, I understood. This witch hunt had become an addiction for him, like a drug addict craving their next fix. Even though he appeared sober, even promptly pushing Wang Ning away, but he was already consumed by madness. He didn't care whether I had been unfaithful or not. He even hoped that I would really cheat. That way, he could rally the entire internet to condemn me, this dissolute woman, and he would become even more righteous. This would help soothe the injustice he felt, as the outcome for the trending girl didn't align with his expectations. In the eyes of some men, a woman is not an independent individual, she is merely a symbol. How pitiful. I took one last serious look at Chen Zhe, then I turned and went into the room. I took out the project documents. Don't you remember? We're not just lovers, but also colleagues. What I mean is, since you've cheated, I won't be taking you along with the contract. Losing love, I still have my career. My career won't betray me. It's my true love. As for, I looked down, spotting the phone he had been stealthily photographing with, and smiled. I know you're live streaming. My name is Wang Rulin, and I currently work at Lan Wang Group, where I'm about to be officially hired. Curious netizens can follow my Weibo account under the same name. I will be posting my evidence there, so everyone can see who the real cheater is. After I finished speaking, I ignored Chen Zhe's drastically changing expression. I glanced at the hotel manager. I'm sorry to trouble you. The hotel manager nodded, wide-eyed and speechless, but Chen Zhe, as the security was about to drag him away, went crazy and rushed into my room, inspecting it thoroughly, including the trash can in my room. The look in his eyes grew increasingly strange. You really didn't cheat, then? Suddenly seeing those hotel kissing photos, he realized something. Du Yue, just as the security guards were about to take him away, he clung tightly to the doorframe, his eyes filled with desperation as he looked at me. Rulin, listen to me. It's a misunderstanding. It's all Du Yue's doing. He's sowing discord between us. He harbors impure intentions towards you. His heart is wicked. Those bed photos and hotel pictures were all fake images he had someone make. After saying that, Chen Zhe seemed genuinely wronged, his eyes pleading as he looked at me. I raised my hand to pinch my nose. Please don't speak anymore, the stench is overwhelming. Whether the photos and videos are real or fake, you can follow the netizens and check my Weibo. Seeing him still clinging to the door frame, unwilling to give up, the security guard looked a bit troubled, had no choice but to say, to be honest with you, the surveillance cameras were installed by me at home. Finally, Chen Zhe let go of his hand, dragged by the armpits by the security guards, my feet scraping along the ground. He relaxed his body, stepping backward while gloatingly looking at me. Wang Rulin, you're rejoicing too soon. I'll give you 1 day, and you'll beg me to get back together, and since you installed surveillance, you can watch later. I held on to my principles for you. I didn't betray you either. Chen Zhe's confidence left the neighboring room's nosy girl utterly stunned. She glanced at the cringe-worthy photos scattered on the floor. Where does he get this confidence from? Even if you've taken off your pants, what's the point of holding on to a few shreds of dignity? The words are crude, but the logic holds. I smiled but didn't explain. Chen Zhe's confidence, of course, was something I had instilled in him. To bring about its downfall, one must first drive it to madness. Chen Zhe has been arrested, charged with economic crimes such as stealing company secrets and bribery. The contract signing time I mentioned to him was, of course, fake. Such an important contract, I would definitely have signed it before returning, but someone did indeed fly over early that day. Chen Zhe intentionally sent Diyue to seduce me in order to disrupt my contract signing. Meanwhile, he waited at the airport for the person in charge, preparing to intercept my contract. So, that's why even after hearing from Du Yue that someone else was in my room, he didn't rush over to catch us in the act right away, because he was busy stealing my contract documents from the company. And then, after spending the night traveling and waiting at the airport, he finally managed to intercept the head of the Jinhe group as soon as the person landed. After signing the contract, he came over with bloodshot eyes to catch the adultery. The sleep-deprived eyes were perfect for playing the victim, but what he didn't know was, the person in charge he intercepted was under police surveillance for economic crimes. The reason it hasn't been publicly disclosed yet is because the implications are too significant, and there are still some pieces of evidence that need to be collected in coordination with the police. So, the Jinhe group is temporarily pretending not to know, but in reality, they've already taken back everything he had in his possession. And Chen Zhe, so eager, was under police surveillance. Impatiently, he bribed the person in charge. I spent a fortune to sign a fake contract with him, but the documents he stole from the company were real. He had stolen important company secrets. Even though no damage was done, he was still sentenced to 2 years in prison. Stealing secrets and bribery. Once he's out, he'll lose the future he's worked so hard for. Just as it was beginning, he'll never be able to make a name for himself in this industry again. See, the evildoer loses what matters most to him. My game, perfect ending. The end. Postscript. Upon learning that I didn't have that muscular lover, Du Yue came to apologize to me and even confessed his feelings. I said with a smile, "You're just a bunch of snakes and rats. What makes you think you can?" Du Yue froze. He quickly realized that I must know something. His eyes reddened. "Is it that no matter how much I explain, you won't give me a chance?" I shook my head. "To be fair, I've seen the chat group, I've interacted with you, seen how you behave in the group. Honestly, you were indeed the type I would have liked." The type I would have liked. He muttered these words in a daze. Her eyes reddened further, filled with pain and regret as she looked at me. "Sorry, I wish you happiness." Watching his sorrowful back, I smiled indifferently. I really thought he was so deep in love. If you truly like someone, how could you possibly join forces to hurt her? I lied. Even if he wasn't involved in this matter, he was just a good person before. He's definitely not my type, but then again, just 2 sentences to make him suffer even more. Why not? I didn't spare anyone else in the chat group either. Although I am kind, those who offend me will be punished. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. 6 months pregnant. I had a huge argument with Zhou Jingcheng and was kicked out of the house. Penniless, I sought warmth in a corner convenience store. As I stared blankly at the steam rising from the Odin, a store clerk approached me. "Hello, we have the last bottle of amnesia water left in our shop. Would you like it?" I froze. forcing a bitter smile. I don't have any money, she said. No need for money, just something from your body in exchange. I instinctively raised my hand and touched my bulging belly. Is it okay? I pushed open the door of the convenience store. A blast of cold wind immediately swept down my neck after taking just a couple of steps. Zhou Jingcheng's voice rang out from behind me. Chen Yu, have you had enough of your tantrum? I turned around and saw him running towards me in great strides. He hadn't even changed his shoes, still wearing the house slippers with the plush lining. How old are you? Playing the runaway game. You're 6 months pregnant and still so hot-tempered. What if something happened to you out there in the middle of the night? If it were before, I would definitely give him a piece of my mind, and we could argue loud enough for the whole street to hear. But today, I just listened in silence, too. Tired to argue with him, he ranted on, probably because of my unusually quiet demeanor. Instead, his anger gradually subsided, and his expression softened. He sighed, then reached out and wrapped his arm around my waist. He pulled me closer into his embrace. All right, it's cold outside, let's go home. Once home, the warmth of the heating enveloped my body. He crouched down, changed my slippers for me, and looked up at me. Are you hungry? What would you like to eat? I'll cook for you. I shook my head, not hungry, but he frowned. You didn't eat anything out of spite tonight. How could you not be hungry? Even if you're not, the child in your stomach still needs to eat. Without waiting for my response, he walked straight into the kitchen. Not long after, he brought out a bowl of seafood noodles with an absurdly generous amount of ingredients: abalone, sea cucumber, lobster meat. It was piled so high it was almost spilling over, steaming hot. He was a young master born with a silver spoon in his mouth, his hands never having touched a day of honest work. But ever since I got pregnant, he refused to let me order takeout and wouldn't hire a nanny. Stubbornly, he insisted on personally preparing all my meals, but his cooking skills were really terrible. Seasoning was basically boiled, with at most a sprinkle of salt, and I had a heavy taste, loving anything spicy. Is it good? He sat across from me, his eyes fixed on me as he asked. I nodded, picked up a forkful of noodles, and gave a soft, hum. The seafood hadn't been cleaned properly, and the strong fishy smell mixed with the bland soup, making me feel queasy. I forced myself to swallow slowly, bite by bite, despite the nausea. Suddenly, his phone let out a sharp ring. There's an urgent matter at the company. As he spoke, he grabbed his coat and car keys. Stay home and don't go out again. With a loud bang, he slammed the door and left. I put down my chopsticks, looking at the bowl of noodles that was still more than half full. My stomach finally couldn't take it anymore and surged with nausea. I rushed into the bathroom and vomited violently into the toilet. After I finished, I leaned against the cold tile wall, tears uncontrollably spilling out. I don't want to live this bland, disgusting life anymore. I immediately pulled out my phone and happily ordered a super spicy mala tang and 3 pounds of spicy crayfish. The delivery arrived quickly. I ate with unrestrained enjoyment. This was the most comfortable meal I'd had since being with Zhou Jingcheng. After finishing the meal, I lay alone in the spacious double bed, sleeping soundly without any dreams. Zhou Jingcheng didn't come home all night, nor did he send a single message. It wasn't until the next morning that he called back, his tone as usual, commanding. I left an important document in the study. Hurry up and bring it to the Y Resort Hotel. I didn't ask any further questions. After finding the document, I took a taxi to the hotel. At the grand entrance, I was stopped by a security guard. I'm sorry, ma'am, this is a members-only establishment. You need an internal invitation to enter. I took out my phone and called Zhou Jingcheng once, twice. No one answered. In the cold wind, I wrapped my down jacket tightly around me, waiting for nearly an hour. Only when my feet started to go numb did I see Assistant Chen of Zhou Jingcheng rushing out from inside. Madam, I'm so sorry, the president is in a meeting, he apologized repeatedly, bringing me to a large villa. They said Zhou Jingcheng would be working here for the next few days. As soon as Zhou Jingcheng saw me, his eyebrows furrowed tightly. I asked you to deliver a document. Why are you taking so long? Can't even handle such a small task. I arrived early, but I couldn't get in at the door, and I called you many times. I tried to explain. He wouldn't listen, impatiently cutting me off. Enough. Stop making excuses. With your abilities, you still think you can work outside. You can't even deliver documents properly. What else can you do? It felt like a needle piercing my heart. I had mentioned many times before that I wanted to continue working, but he had always refused. Zhou Jingcheng, don't need a woman to go out and make a public spectacle of herself for money. Just enjoy your life at home. I took a deep breath and suppressed my emotions. The documents have been delivered. I'll head back if there's nothing else. What's the rush? His tone softened slightly. Wait in the office. I'll take you out to eat after the meeting. Before I could refuse, he was already surrounded by a group of people heading towards the conference room. Chen Zhu led me to the office. As soon as the door was pushed open, the office looked like a beauty pageant. 7 or 8 young and beautiful girls sat behind their desks, each with impeccable makeup and stylish outfits. Zhou Jingcheng has 2 hard and fast rules when hiring female secretaries. First, they must be beautiful. Second, they must be under the age of 25. The outside world jokingly refers to his team of secretaries as the Zhou Beauty Squad. I walked among them in my bulky down jacket, looking like a penguin that had mistakenly wandered into a swan lake. I plopped down on the sofa without a care. The curious gazes of the secretaries stuck to me like glue. I heard their hushed but clear whispers. Who is that? A new face, wearing an extremely short pencil skirt, her eyes fixedly examining me. She nudged Chen Zhu, asking in a coquettish voice. Chen Zhu, who is this? Chen Zhu replied softly. It's Mrs. Zhou. The young secretary's eyes widened instantly, her voice rising slightly in surprise. Mrs. Zhou, is she a celebrity? Why is she so well hidden? Chen Zhu shook his head. No, she's not. The little secretary pursed her lips, with a sour, sarcastic tone. Oh, not a celebrity. Not a celebrity, yet wearing a hat and mask. So pretentious, huh? Afraid someone might recognize you. The girl next to her gently tugged at her sleeve. She, however, didn't seem to care at all. Her eyes brazenly scanned me once more, her voice dripping with malice. Is it because she's not very pretty? And look at her figure, so fat, like a barrel. I lowered my eyes. The thick down jacket couldn't conceal my bloated, misshapen figure. After getting pregnant, my weight changed daily, and all my curves disappeared. As for why I wore a mask and hat, it was because of Zhou Jingcheng. He said he had made many enemies in business to protect me, fearing I would be targeted. Chen Zhu reprimanded her in a low voice. Don't speak nonsense, mister. Zhou deeply loves his wife. Show some respect. The young secretary pursed her lips, unimpressed, and rolled her eyes. I waved calmly at her. Go, get me a cup of coffee. Zhou Jingcheng came out after the meeting. He immediately noticed the coffee in front of me, and his brows furrowed instantly. Who poured the coffee for you? The young secretary immediately stood up, eager to take credit. Mr. Zhou, I poured it. For Madam. Zhou Jingcheng's gaze suddenly swept toward her, and he sternly rebuked her. Dump it. The smug look on the young secretary's face instantly froze. She tremblingly stepped forward, her hands shaking, and almost spilled the coffee as she carried it away. What's wrong with you? Zhou Jingcheng turned to look at me, his tone full of reproach. Can you even drink coffee now? Do I have to remind you of such common sense over and over again? How old are you? Is she immature, or are you too immature? The entire secretary area outside was silent, and all the girls kept their heads down, afraid of angering him. My heart was twisted painfully by his words. I swallowed the sourness in my throat, tugged at his sleeve, and broke the suffocating silence. Speaking softly, I'm hungry. He frowned, took out his phone, and ordered hotel room service to deliver a nutritious meal to the room. The meal was quickly delivered. The presentation was exquisite, the ingredients top-notch, light and healthy, perfectly meeting his requirements. He didn't sit down to join me. Take your time eating. I have a team dinner downstairs in the courtyard. I walked out to the balcony overlooking the courtyard. I saw what he called his team dinner. By the long buffet table, his gorgeous secretary squad surrounded him, all dressed to impress. Smiling charmingly, he held a wine glass with an air of nonchalance. His other hand naturally rested on the back of the chair beside his secretary. He exuded the aura of an emperor, surrounded and revered. The secretary, in turn, was his favored concubine. Memories suddenly flashed back to a few years ago. Back then, when we had just gotten married, I had been jealous of his overly glamorous secretary team and had demanded he replace them. He laughed at my pettiness, saying that secretaries were the face of the company, and urged me to be sensible and not act out. He cupped my face in his hands and promised, swearing that, body and soul, I would be the only one for him for the rest of his life. Over the years, he indeed seemed to have never really been involved in any scandalous rumors with anyone, but at this moment, in the courtyard downstairs, the young secretary in the mini-skirt giggled, picked up a grape, and held it to his lips. Without hesitation, he lowered his head and ate it very naturally. My nasal passages felt as if they were being blocked by that grape, making it suddenly difficult to breathe. Then, the young secretary stood up, as if intending to go to the nearby swing. Accidentally, her leg gave way, letting out a startled cry. She fell right into Zhou Jingqing's embrace. Zhou Jingqing's hand naturally steadied her waist as he joked with a smile. I told you to lose weight, and now you can't even walk steadily. As he spoke, he picked up the young secretary and carried her a few steps to the swing, gently placing her on it. My eyes stung painfully at the sight. I clenched the cold phone in my hand with all my strength. With a sudden force, I hurled it down toward the glaring laughter and chatter below. Plop, the phone crashed heavily into the center of the heated pool in the courtyard, sending a huge splash of water flying. The playful laughter below came to an abrupt halt. Everyone was startled by the sudden noise, their frightened eyes looking up. Zhou Jingqing also looked up, his gaze accurately finding me on the balcony. From a great distance, our eyes met. I clung to the balcony railing, screaming at the blurred figure with all my might. Zhou Jingqing, get your ass up here. Zhou Jingqing arrived quickly. He pushed open the door, his face ashen. I grabbed the pillow beside me and hurled it at him with all my strength. He didn't dodge, and the pillow softly hit his body. His eyes were dark and brooding. What are you making a scene about now? I pointed to the healthy meal on the table in front of me. Why do you get to eat barbecue and drink alcohol while I'm stuck with this stuff? He said coldly. Chen, you, use some common sense. You're pregnant, and the doctor said you need a light diet. It's all for your own good. Once the baby is born, you can eat whatever you want. Will that do? Another child, for the sake of the child. How much more must I sacrifice? Moreover, I don't even like children. It was his stubbornness that led him to replace my birth control pills. And that's how I ended up pregnant. He walked over, picked up his chopsticks, and scooped up a piece of boiled spinach to feed me. His tone softened, as if coaxing a disobedient child. Ah, open your mouth. I abruptly turned my face away, dodging the spinach, and tears welled up unbidden. Child, all you care about is the child. Is it because I'm carrying this child that I don't even have the freedom to eat? I'm a living person, not your baby-making machine. Zhou Jingqing's face darkened completely, and he slammed his chopsticks down forcefully. You're going to be a mother soon. Can't you stop being so willful and unreasonable? He sat down beside me and forcefully turned my shoulder toward him. Be good, stop making a fuss, just endure for 4 more months, and once the baby is born, everything will be fine. After having this child, we won't have any more. He picked up the bowl again, scooped a spoonful of rice, and held it to my lips. His gaze was stubborn, as if he wouldn't give up until I finished every bite. Unable to resist, I opened my mouth and mechanically swallowed the tasteless food, and so he fed me, spoon by spoon, almost forcefully, until the meal was done. So obedient, finally satisfied, he raised his hand to pat my head, but I instinctively dodged. His hand froze in midair, his eyes darkening. A cautious knock came from the door outside. The previous little secretary pushed the door open and poked half her body in. She held a plate of bright red hawthorn berries. Madame Zhou, these are freshly air-flown hawthorn berries, sweet and sour, perfect for stimulating the appetite. Would you like to try some? Zhou Jingqing stood up and took the plate of hawthorn berries. Thank you for your hard work. He paused, glanced at the young secretary, and instructed, I'll be going for a media interview later. You stay here and take good care of the madam. The young secretary's smile froze, but she didn't dare to argue, pouting as she agreed. All right, Mr. Zhou. Zhou Jingqing strode out of the room with long, confident steps. The young secretary was clearly impatient, pacing back and forth in the room. Every now and then, she glanced toward the door, her mind already at the press conference. You don't need to stay here. Go attend to your own business. I spoke up, wanting to send her away. That won't do. She immediately refused. President Zhou instructed me to follow you every step of the way. I must obey President Zhou's orders. My chest tightened with irritation rather than staying alone with her in this suffocating room. It's better to go outside. Then let's go. I stood up. Let's go. Watch the interview together. The secretary's eyes lit up immediately, and she hurried to follow. The interview was taking place in the hotel's largest banquet hall. When we arrived, the room was already packed with media reporters, their cameras and microphones all aimed at the dazzling man on the stage. Zhou Jingqing sat confidently on the stage, answering reporters' questions with wit and humor. Eliciting occasional laughter from the audience, a female reporter stood up and asked a question. Mr. Zhou, congratulations on your continued reign as the most popular entrepreneur this year. We've noticed that many of your fans are young women, and everyone is very curious about your relationship status. Are you married? I subconsciously clenched my hands on stage. Zhou Jingqing faced the camera with a decisive tone. No, the young secretary beside me let out a barely audible scoff. Tisk. So they weren't even married after all. What's the point of pretending to be Mrs. Zhou? Yeah, I'm not Mrs. Zhou. I never registered my marriage with Zhou Jingqing, nor did we have a wedding back then. He told me that the marital status of a listed company's CEO must be disclosed, for my safety, and to avoid being targeted by his competitors. We couldn't get married for the time being. I believed it. The reporter pressed further. So, Mr. Zhou, are you currently single? On stage, Zhou Jingqing's smile remained unchanged. He spoke clearly into the microphone. Yes. My head exploded with a loud boom. The secretary beside me could barely hide the glee and mockery on her face. All the blood in my body seemed to freeze in an instant. Everything went black before my eyes. My vision began to blur, and everything around me spun and twisted. Panicked screams erupted around me. Someone's fainted. There's so much blood. Before my consciousness completely sank into darkness, it seemed as if I heard Zhou Jingqing's voice, filled with a terrifying panic, calling out from a distance, "Wife." I woke up in the pungent smell of disinfectant. Zhou Jingqing sat by the hospital bed. His expensive suit was wrinkled beyond recognition. His trousers were stained with large patches of dried, dark blood. One hand tightly gripped mine, while the other supported his forehead, with his eyes closed, his brows furrowed, and dark circles heavily shadowed his eyes. It seems he stayed here all night. He seemed to sense my movements and suddenly woke up. Seeing that my eyes were open, he immediately leaned in, his eyes bloodshot. His voice was terribly hoarse. "Awake, honey. Is there anywhere that still hurts? Headache, stomachache?" I didn't answer his question. I just struggled to lift my other hand and touch my abdomen. There, it was empty. "Where's the baby?" Zhou Jingqing's eyes turned red, and tears gathered in his eyes. He lowered his head, his shoulders trembling slightly. "Gone. My wife, our child, is gone." He felt as if he had lost his most cherished treasure, the pain unbearable. I closed my eyes, and the scalding tears slid from the corners of my eyes, quickly disappearing into my temples. He lifted his head, his face pressed against mine. Why, I was already so careful, so attentive. He choked back tears. Maybe it's because I ate too many hawthorn berries, which promote blood circulation. It's all my fault. I didn't know that couldn't be eaten. I shouldn't have let her bring it in. Listening to his belated repentance, a sharp pain throbbed in my temples. "My head hurts." I interrupted him, weakly. "Shut up." He immediately fell silent, his eyes red, looking at me helplessly. After a while, he managed to compose himself, speaking in the tone he thought would be comforting. "Honey, don't be too sad. We're still young. The child, I'm not the least bit sad." I opened my eyes and calmly interrupted him. He froze, as if he hadn't expected me to say that. "It's okay. We'll have more children once you're better. Next time, I don't want to have any more." I looked into his eyes and repeated it clearly. His mouth opened and then closed again, as if he hadn't understood what I said. He looked at me with a complicated expression. I knew what he was thinking. He was a man of deeply traditional, even conservative, nature. His ideal life was one with a loving wife, well-behaved children, and a harmonious family. When he first found out she was pregnant, he was so excited that he acted like a giddy young man, personally overseeing the decoration of 2 children's rooms. One room was painted sky blue, filled with toy cars and dinosaurs, while the other was painted pink, overflowing with Barbie dolls and stuffed animals. He held me then, his tone filled with a satisfaction unlike any before. "Whether it's a boy or a girl, we'll have just this one. We'll pour all our love into it. Now, those two meticulously prepared children's rooms would never welcome their intended occupants. This miscarriage was just an accident. Next time, I'll be even more careful. Take better care of you. He tried to persuade me. I don't want children anymore. I repeated for the third time. Zhou Jingqing looked at me, his eyes gradually growing still, turning murky and inscrutable. He looked at me, his eyes bloodshot. After a long while, his voice was hoarse, almost inaudible. All right, as you wish, child. We won't take it. He paused, as if making a tremendous decision. When you're discharged from the hospital, I'll get a vasectomy. I won't let you suffer anymore. I forcefully pulled my hand out of his grasp, turned over, and faced away from him. I'm tired. I want to sleep for a while. You can leave now. A faint sob escaped from his throat. All right, I won't disturb you. He stood up and tucked the blanket around me. Get some rest. I'll go home and bring you some clean clothes. I stayed in the hospital for 3 days. Zhou Jingqing always felt that I hadn't fully recovered and wanted me to stay longer, but I couldn't stand the smell of disinfectant any longer, so I insisted on checking out of the hospital. Returning to that spacious, cold home, a thought suddenly surged within me. I want to go back to my hometown for a while. My hometown is a quiet coastal city. Zhou Jingqing didn't hesitate. Sure, wait until I finish this acquisition case, and I'll accompany you back. Consider it a break. You don't need to accompany me. I'll go back alone to clear my mind. His expression stiffened, and he carefully observed my face. Honey, are you angry with me? Do you feel like I didn't take good care of you and the child? I curled the corner of my mouth. No, don't overthink it. After a moment of silence, I continued, also, I want to buy a house in my hometown. Great, he immediately agreed, as if eager to make amends for something. I'll arrange it. You can choose anywhere you like. The next day, he had everything settled, a luxurious oceanfront apartment in a prime location, and the keys were handed directly to me. The property deed was in my name alone. Next, he transferred a substantial sum into my account through a complex overseas account. The SMS notification sounded, and I stared at the long string of numbers. Stunned, he explained in a hoarse voice, his smile bitter and forlorn. Originally, it was for the child's education fund and support expenses, but it won't be needed anymore. Take it, spend it however you like. He spoke, a tear tracing a path down the corner of his eye. I stared at the cold transfer notification on my phone screen. Suddenly, my eyes felt scorched, burning hot. I gazed at the man before me, now so much more haggard, and asked softly, Zhou Jingqing, can you accompany me for a hot pot meal just once? Inside the hot pot restaurant, the spicy aroma mingled with the steam wafted towards us. Boss, do you have any private rooms available? I asked while wearing a mask. The busy boss didn't even lift his head. Gone long ago. You have to wait in line. But there's still one empty spot in the lobby. Zhou Jingqing grabbed my hand and said, the lobby will do. It's fine. I looked at him in surprise. When we used to go out together, he never allowed us to sit in the main hall. He would always frown and say it was too noisy and chaotic, with poor privacy, insisting that we had to have the best private room. This time, I shook my head. No, let's wait for a private room. I sidestepped his touch. It's quieter with fewer people. His face was too recognizable, and I didn't want to be photographed by anyone at this moment. After waiting for over an hour, I finally got a cramped private room. The red oil pot soon bubbled vigorously, churning with dense clusters of chili peppers and Sichuan peppercorns. Zhou Jingqing had only taken a few bites when fine beads of sweat began to form on his forehead. I sucked in air from the spiciness, chugging down an entire bottle of ice water in one go. How about switching to a yin-yang pot? You can eat from the clear broth side. Seeing his flustered state, I suggested. No need, he refused quickly, then picked up another forkful of beef slices and dropped them into the spicy broth. I need to practice. I can't always have you accommodating me with plain soup. The spicy steam made my eyes moist. I accidentally inhaled a mouthful of spicy oil, coughing violently and forcing tears out. Zhou Jingqing immediately put down his chopsticks and anxiously handed me water, gently patting my back. Slow down. Have some water to help it go down. He didn't eat much, his thin lips already swollen and red from the spice, like they were stained with blood. Just as I was lowering a piece of tripe into the pot, he suddenly spoke. I'm going on a business trip tomorrow. When I get back, let's go get our marriage certificate. My chopsticks holding the tripe paused mid-air. He was in high spirits. I had a master calculated. Next Thursday is an auspicious day, the last good day of the year. As he spoke, he opened his phone to show me. The phone screen displayed a stunningly exquisite design of a wedding gown. After we register, we'll hold the wedding. I've already had them rush order a custom gown from Italy. Take a look at this design. Do you like it? He gazed at me, his eyes gleaming with excitement, like a child eager to show off a prized possession. The tripe slowly curled and stiffened in the sizzling red oil. I asked softly, didn't you say before that to protect me we couldn't register our marriage or have a wedding? The excitement on Zhou Jingcheng's face froze. There was fierce infighting within the group, and several projects were hanging in the balance. I had too many enemies, and I was afraid they would target you. But once this acquisition is completed, no one will be able to shake me. I have the ability to protect you well. He tightened his grip on my hand. I know I've made you suffer a lot in the past. It won't happen again. I want you to stand by my side openly. Let everyone know that you are the only Mrs. Zhou Jingcheng. The overcooked tripe sank into the rolling red oil and disappeared in an instant. Next Thursday, all right. I stared at the pot, my voice light and airy. Zhou Jingcheng grinned from ear to ear. He eagerly pushed his phone closer to my face, pressing further. Do you like this wedding dress? I glanced at the luxurious wedding dress on the screen and nodded indifferently. It's quite nice. Then I'll have them speed up the process immediately. He pocketed his phone and swiftly typed out instructions with his fingers. What about the wedding? Where do you want to have it? Bali, Maldives, or the European castle you mentioned before? I'll arrange it. I lowered my eyes and bit hard on the crisp dried mustard greens in my mouth, mumbling indistinctly, let's eat first. We can talk about this later. Zhou Jingcheng's high spirits were somewhat dampened by my cold response. He sullenly put away his phone but didn't stop his daydreaming, continuing to plan on his own. I think Bali and the Maldives are both great options. With their sunny beaches, European castles could also be added to the list to consider slowly. The wedding should ideally be held in spring or autumn, not too cold or too hot, so you'll be comfortable in your wedding dress. He spoke enthusiastically about his future plans, every detail meticulously considered. I didn't listen to a single word. When we settled the bill after the meal, the friendly owner gifted us a pair of festive red couple's cups. Looking at those cups, a thought suddenly struck me, and I remembered something very important that I had forgotten. By the way, when I was at your company last time, I think I lost an earring. I want to go look for it. Zhou Jingcheng didn't suspect anything and wrapped his arm around my waist as we walked out. All right, I also need to go back to the company to pick up some documents. The Zhou Corporation building was still brightly lit against the night sky. I walked straight to Zhou Jingcheng's desk and pretended to search through it. Found it? He asked, walking over with a file in hand. I shook my head. No, maybe I remembered the wrong place. My gaze fell on the branded mug on his desk, featuring the logo of a renowned designer. Zhou Jingcheng, where is the cup I gave you before? It was something I secretly made at a pottery studio for our 4th anniversary, a pair of adorably ugly couple's cups, one with a majestic little tiger, the bottom inscribed with his name, and the other with a squirrel hugging a pine cone, inscribed with my name. I remember giving him the tiger cup, but he insisted on taking the squirrel cup that was meant for me. This one looks like you. I want this one. That way, every time I drink water, I'll think of you. Zhou Jingcheng paused for a moment, then seemed to recall something. Oh, you mean that handmade cup? Lu Yumian liked it, so she swapped it with me for this master edition. Lu Yumian, the little secretary who had given me Hawthorne, openly mocked me in the office, and fell into his arms. Turns out, he never fired her. A cold fury instantly surged to the top of my head. I clenched my fists, my body trembling with rage. That's my cup. My voice suddenly rose, sharp enough to pierce the silence of the office. Make her return it immediately. My voice was too loud. Reaching the secretary's office, the office door was pushed open, and Lu Yumian poked his head in, holding the familiar little squirrel cup in his hand. His face wore an innocent yet triumphant expression. Mr. Zhou? Madam, are you referring to this cup? I dashed over abruptly, reaching out to snatch the cup back. Lu Yumian seemed startled by my sudden movement, let out a gasp, and accidentally jerked her wrist. Clang! The cup slammed onto the floor, shattering into pieces in an instant. shards flying everywhere. Lu Yumian covered her mouth, a layer of mist quickly forming in her eyes. Her voice was delicate and pitiful, brimming with genuine grievance. I'm sorry, Mrs. Zhou, it wasn't on purpose. I looked at the shattered pieces on the ground, especially since the bottom of the cup was completely broken, unable to be pieced back together. I felt an inexplicable sense of relief. Before I could even speak, Zhou Jingqing suddenly exploded like a tiger whose tail had been stepped on. He roared harshly at Lu Yumian, who was standing frozen at the door. Are you useless? Can't even hold a cup properly? His voice was filled with undisguised rage and heartache, as if the cup were some priceless treasure. I was startled by his overreaction. Zhou Jingqing abruptly crouched down, his fingers trembling as he reached for the sharp shards of broken porcelain, piece by piece, carefully, as if still hoping to piece it back together. Lu Yumian was completely stunned, her face as pale as paper, probably never having seen Zhou Jingqing so furious with her before. Mr. Zhou, shut up. Zhou Jingqing didn't even look up, his tone icy. The edge of the broken porcelain was sharp, and he accidentally cut his finger. Blood droplets immediately welled up and fell onto the white porcelain, strikingly vivid. I stepped forward, grabbing his wrist. Don't pick it up. He stubbornly tried to pull away. No, you made this. I kept a straight face, my heart unmoved, even feeling a bit amused. You didn't cherish it when it was whole, but now that it's broken, you're putting on a show of deep affection. He suddenly looked up at me, his eyes filled with shock and deep hurt. I had no interest in appreciating his expression and impatiently urged him on. Go wash and bandage your hands. I'm tired and need to rest. Only then did he reluctantly let go, slowly standing up. All right, sit and wait for me for a moment. I'll be quick. As he passed by Lu Yumian, who was pale as a ghost, he didn't stop, only leaving behind a cold remark. You're fired. Hand over all your work by the end of the day, then get out of the company. Don't ever let me see you again. Lu Yumian's legs went weak, and she nearly collapsed to the ground, but this time, Zhou Jingqing didn't even spare her a glance, let alone reach out to help her. She finally steadied herself by holding onto the table. I didn't look at her again, turning instead to the assistant beside me. Please call the cleaning Anut to come and thoroughly clean up this pile of trash. I stood by, watching as the Anut swept up the last bits of debris into the trash can. Ensure there are no omissions. Then, I said to Assistant Chen, I've separated from Zhou Jingqing. Don't mention me in front of him anymore. Assistant Chen's face flashed with immense surprise, but her professional demeanor allowed her to quickly manage her expression, just hesitated and nodded. All right, Mrs. Zhou. She paused, as if realizing this form of address was no longer appropriate, and tried to think of another way to address me, but in the end, she couldn't bring herself to say anything. She probably never even knew my name. Zhou Jingqing returned quickly, his finger merely wrapped in a casual band-aid, the bloodstains not yet fully wiped clean. Wife, let's go home. His tone carried an urgency as he reached out to take my hand. I hummed in acknowledgement, slipping my hands into my pockets. When he got home, he started packing for his business trip tomorrow. I went to take a shower and then went to bed, sleeping a deeply peaceful sleep. The next morning, Zhou Jingqing had already prepared breakfast and was holding a pour-over kettle, ready to make coffee. I walked over and gently pressed my hand on his. Stop drinking coffee. I took out the bottle of forgetfulness water from my bag, which looked no different from ordinary mineral water, and handed it to him. Drink this instead. I bought it especially for you. A wave of obvious gratitude instantly welled up in Zhou Jingqing's eyes. He had never refused anything I gave him. This time was no exception. Not even asking what it was, he took it, twisted off the cap, and drank it all down in one go. After finishing, he wiped his mouth and even smiled at me. What kind of water is this? It has a rather unique taste. I looked at him and gave a genuine, relaxed smile. I'm glad you like it. When I saw him to the door, he leaned in instinctively, wanting to kiss me. I slightly turned my head, and the kiss landed on my cheek. He didn't pay much attention, pulling the suitcase with a light-hearted tone. Wife, wait for me to come back. I stood inside the door, looking into his eyes, and said calmly, Zhou Jingqing, goodbye. After Zhou Jingqing left, I cleaned up all traces of myself from the house as quickly as possible. Clothes, skincare products, books I had read, the bowl and chopsticks I often used in the kitchen, I cleaned with extraordinary thoroughness, not even a single strand of hair was left behind. All belongings were packed into boxes and sent to a distant coastal town. As the last box was carried away by the deliverman, I stood in the empty and cold living room, looking around. There was no trace left of my existence here. The winter in my hometown was warm. Even in December, the temperature hovered around 20 degrees. The sea breeze, tinged with the scent of the ocean, felt wonderfully soothing against my skin. I ran a small cat cafe. The cats in my shop were all well-groomed, with shiny coats, and their affectionate natures quickly earned them a reputation among the young crowd, bringing in good business. One lazy afternoon, with the sun so warm it made me drowsy, I dozed off in the sofa by the window, cradling a ragdoll cat in my arms. The sunlight made both me and the cat feel warm and cozy. The doorbell chimed crisply. "Welcome." I looked up to greet the guest. In that instant, recognizing the person approaching, my body stiffened, and my arms instinctively tightened around the cat. It was Zhou Jingcheng. He had lost a lot of weight, his cheeks slightly sunken, and his complexion unnaturally pale. His brow carried a heavy weariness and a haggard look. He walked towards me. I was tense all over, my fingers unconsciously gripping the soft fur of the cat in my arms. The cat let out a few uncomfortable meows and twisted its body. Zhou Jingcheng stopped in front of me, his gaze falling on the cat in my arms. His gaze at me was distant, as if looking at a stranger he had never met before. Yet beneath that unfamiliarity, there was a struggle, a hint of confusion and bewilderment. "Excuse me," he began, his voice hoarse. "Are you selling the cat in your hands?" The detachment and unfamiliarity in his tone were so genuine, my heart sank back into place. The forgetfulness elixir had indeed taken effect. "I'm sorry," I heard my own voice, calm yet unfamiliar. "This one is not for sale," he insisted. "I really like it, no matter the price, tens of thousands, or even hundreds of thousands, just name your price." I shook my head, my tone firm. "Not for any price." A clear trace of disappointment flickered across Zhou Jingcheng's face. He seemed somewhat puzzled by his own persistence, murmuring softly, "Sorry, I just saw it in the window outside and felt a strong sense of familiarity. It's hard on my heart, as if I've forgotten something very important." I froze for a moment. "Before I got pregnant, I had a very beautiful ragdoll cat named Coco. As soon as I found out I was pregnant," Zhou Jingcheng used the excuse, "pregnant women shouldn't be around pets," to ignore my protests and tears. While I wasn't paying attention, he secretly gave Coco away. After leaving, I went through many channels and finally managed to find Coco again. "Ragdoll cats all look similar," I said, turning my head to avoid his confused gaze. "You can take a look at the other cats in the shop." He didn't look at the other cats. Instead, he just shook his head dejectedly, like a lost child, and slowly turned to leave. The next day, I encountered him again at the corner of the street in front of the shop. He had completely forgotten about meeting me yesterday, his brows furrowed as he stared at the map on his phone. Seeing me, he grabbed onto me like a lifeline. "Hello, could you tell me how to get to Time Cafe?" I acted like a genuinely helpful stranger, pointing him in the right direction. "Turn left at the next intersection, and it's about 100 meters ahead." "Okay, thank you." He thanked me and hurried away. Time Cafe, it was a small shop I had mentioned to him by chance long ago, saying its name was very pleasing. The convenience store clerk was right. Those who drink the water of forgetfulness will completely forget. Even if we meet again, no memories will remain. He truly completely forgot me. That's wonderful. Later, I saw news about him in a financial news report. The Y Resort Hotel he successfully acquired and renovated had its grand opening, renamed as the Weizhou Resort Hotel. The reporter interviewed him at the opening ceremony. "Mr. Zhou, is there any special meaning behind the name of the hotel?" In front of the camera, Zhou Jingcheng wore a well-tailored suit, but his smile had an almost imperceptible emptiness. "Weizhou is the name I gave to my child. This hotel is a gift from me to my child, Chen Weizhou." That was the name he had spent days poring over dictionaries to come up with when we first found out I was pregnant. He said it could work for either a boy or a girl. The reporter, clearly having done their homework, teased, "Mr. Zhou, you're not even married, let alone in a relationship, yet you've already thought of a name for your future child." Zhou Jingcheng's brows suddenly furrowed tightly, as if he had heard something extremely absurd, and his tone carried a strong displeasure. "Who said I'm not married? I am married, I have a wife, I have children." The reporter was stunned. instinctively retorting, but a month ago, during our exclusive interview, you clearly stated that you were single and unmarried. Zhou Jingcheng seemed to be struck hard in the head by these words, his face turning pale in an instant. He clutched his forehead in pain. His body swaying slightly, his eyes grew chaotic and frantic, muttering to himself. No, no, I have a wife, I clearly have a wife. He abruptly raised his head, looking around at the crowd like a trapped, desperate beast. He cried out in anguish, wife, wife. In the stunned silence of everyone watching, he suddenly bolted toward the hotel's heated swimming pool and leaped into it. He had nearly drowned as a child, leaving him with a deep psychological fear of water, and he couldn't swim at all. Chen, the assistant, panicked and jumped in after him to save him, but Zhou Jingcheng pushed her away frantically, thrashing and struggling in the water, stubbornly shouting into the air, his voice breaking and faltering, wife, where are you? Why, haven't you come to save me yet? Through the cold screen of my phone, I watched him helplessly sinking into the azure pool. I thought of our first meeting. It was in a body of water like this one, where he had jumped into the sea in despair after his parents' deaths. It was I who jumped down and saved him. He fell in love with me because of this, obsessively pulling me into his world. Wife, you saved me, and I love you, but his love was not the kind I wanted. This tangled, ill-fated relationship began with water, and now, it ends with water. In the second before sinking completely beneath the surface, his scream transmitted his heart-wrenching, final scream, his last ounce of strength spent. Wife, later, I heard bits and pieces of rumors about him. They said that the young CEO of the Zhou Group had developed a severe case of hysteria. He no longer managed the company, but instead wandered aimlessly to places he and his wife had once visited, grabbing anyone he met and asking them, in a daze, where is my wife? Have you seen my wife? After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.